Welcome, guys, to SW6 Live and review of yesterday's disaster, our first game of the season, and a defeat at home to Burnley, obviously at Stamford Bridge. On the panel tonight, we were hoping actually to have Harsh on tonight, but unfortunately, lastminute.com he's had to go to Birmingham. We were trying to draft in a couple of people, but due to technical problems, they can't come on. So it's just me and my old friend there, Mo. Welcome to Chelsea SW6, buddy.
Thank you very much. I am quite excited to talk about the disaster that we faced yesterday. So let's get this going, man.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, what can we say? It was definitely the old cliche, definitely a game of two halves, and certainly not the expected result, let's say, so to speak, because I don't think any of us was expecting that, were we, mate? You know?
No, definitely not.
And I believe the most used word online is Chelsea. Am I right in saying that over the weekend?
Yep, and definitely
You say something like that to me?
on different occasions.
Absolutely mental, mate. Well, look, what I want to try and do, mate, because the game for me, I mean, if you was a neutral, you'd have loved it. I mean, it had everything, didn't it? It had red cards and plenty of goals and lots of controversial decisions and an absolutely inept, appalling refereeing performance, which we will discuss later, my friend. But let's try and dissect it all bit by bit. And the fact that there's only two of us, mate, we can really go into one and really analyse it, you know, for all it's worth, if 100%. You like. And, you know, don't say that word on me, mate.
I thought you might say that.
No, in a nice way. Okay, right, let's look at the team then, guys. Courtois, Rudiger, obviously made his debut at the Bridge. Louise, Cahill, Azpilicueta, Kante, Fabregas, Alonso, Willian, Batshuayi, and Boga. But the bench was full of kids, mate. Christensen, Samori. I mean, we had Kennedy, Scott, Masunda. Well, obviously Morata was on the bench. I mean, what did you make? I know we had Pedro out injured. Obviously, we got Hazard out. Bakayoko is not back for 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever. What did you first and foremost make of the side that was chosen?
I think it was quite a predictable lineup, and I think it sort of picked itself when you look at that lineup. I think the biggest question was, and would Conte go with Morata or Batshuayi? And he went with Batshuayi, and I think it was a very fair statement to go with Batshuayi because during the preseason he's proved himself to be someone that at least deserves a chance, and it was only fair to give him a chance in the first game of the season. So, and it was a predictable lineup. When it comes to the subs bench, that's where I think every single one of us, it's the reality that's set in, is that is a very young-looking bench, and it's not just a young-looking bench where we're thinking, oh, those are the best of our youth. It's the ones we're left with, and I think that's when it's a bit of an alarm. It's when you are left with certain players rather than you chose these players because these were the top young players. We send most of our top young players either out on loan or, unfortunately, they've left us in the case of Dom Solanke, and well, you can see what he did during preseason. We shall see what he shall do for Liverpool afterwards. But it does sting a little bit. And I think, if anything, this is a game that hopefully will make the board realize that that bench needs to look a lot better than that. Our depth in the squad is definitely not strong enough. And I think that bench pretty much sums it up.
What do you make of the journalists? Most of the journalists are going with the story that they feel that Antonio Conte was making a statement with his bench. And do you also think it's also a little bit odd, really, when you look at the fact that 4 players we've let go all started Premier League games yesterday? We know that Zuma, we sent him out on loan. Obviously, he played for Stoke. Nathan Ake, you know, there's quite a list, as we know. But what do you make of all the journalists are going with this story that it was almost like Antonio Conte was saying, look, you know, this is what I'm here. This is what I've got left with. This is you know, this is reality.
And
you know, what do you make of that one, mate? Any truth in that, do you think?
And I think they're going to try and find and dig any sort of grave they can for us, because let's be frankly honest, it's not like the media is a fan of Chelsea. and
No.
any chance they can get to bury the champions before even the season has begun, and regardless of the result, I think that was the statement they would have made. I think it was just a way to dig at Conte and say, is this a statement you wanted to make to the board that this is what you're left with? And I think the manner in which he answered the question in the post-match review, in the post-match conference, I should say, made its own statement. I think Antonio Conte doesn't want to fall for these type of mind games from the media itself. I think Antonio Conte chose the best team that he could based on what he had, which is the reality of the situation. He knows that the board need to work hard, and the board probably are working hard at getting us players. But frankly, let's be honest, we shouldn't be in this position for our first game of the season. We should be far more prepped. Our preseason was quite light, and then you have a squad that is very thin because we've been selling or loaning players out left, right, and center, but then kind of forgot to do the one thing that you need to be doing, which is actually sign players. And we're now left with a bench full of youngsters. It's let's be honest, it was a predictable situation, but I think at the very same time, the media are going to try and dig any sort of grave they can for us. The media, and as Gavin said, actually, Gavin Smith is saying on the media is a fan of no club. That's true, but there are certain clubs they definitely favored. I mean, Liverpool's one, and
The old school, the old school clubs, mate. Yeah.
Any old school clubs, the media will always be behind. When it comes to Chelsea, I'll be very honest with you. Anytime they get a chance at trying to get any sort of negativity at Chelsea, they will take that opportunity. And I think that's where, for me, the media has always been something I've never really taken very seriously. And that's why in this moment, I don't take them really seriously. The reality of the situation is we are in a difficult situation where we don't have a big squad and we need to be signing players. And it's simple as that. I don't think Antonio Conte will be playing chess with the board because, let's be frankly honest, that's not a game he wants to play because his job is on the line at the end of the day.
So I feel with the media, more often than not, what they do is they don't really have a story. So what they try and do is they try and create the story that they really want. And by creating the story they want, of course, you know, with every action, there's a reaction. And of course, with the reaction, which is obviously going to be, you know, results like that, obviously, yes, it doesn't help, I've got to be honest. But, you know, there's going to be a reaction. And from the reaction, there's your story. And it just seems to be a common sort of, I don't know, sort of the way they go about things with regards to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And but we're not helping matters either, are we? Let's be, you know, let's be honest, mate. You know.
Definitely not. I think we are giving them something to feed off, and they're just going to try and keep digging. And the sooner the club does positive things to rectify the situation, the sooner the media can be off our backs and not create an atmosphere within the club where the media is pretty much controlling how our club actually feels. I mean, one of the other things I was going to say, us booing the players was a headline on pretty much a lot of the newspapers, which was an absolute joke. We were both there. We never booed the players at any point. We were frustrated at Batshuayi at one point, and that was about it. But we never booed them at any point because we're actually behind our team.
Funny enough, it's one of the questions I've got a little bit further back, actually, because I will put a little bit of spin on that one, mate, right? And I'll explain why a little bit later. But look, they would love, let's have it right, they would love nothing more, right, than for deja vu, for this to be what happened 2 seasons ago. They would love it, absolutely love it. It'd be the story.
It'll make them money. It's simple as it will make them money. It will make them headlines. It will make the league even more crazy than it already is. It's champions that have collapsed again, on so on and so forth. Chelsea are back to square one. It's all kinds of stuff they can sell for weeks, for months. It's something they can definitely feed off, and they can do it in such a big way. So that's why we need to definitely rectify the situation sooner rather than later, because the longer this goes on, I think the more control that the media starts to have on what sort of feel our club starts to have and what our fans are like, and maybe sometimes how the season really progresses, because you don't really want the media controlling any of those types of things, because they will honestly make things out of anything.
Absolutely, mate. Okay, well, look, as I say, it's a bit of an old cliche, but it was definitely a game of two halves. First half, let's be honest, mate, we were absolutely woeful. We were shocking.
Yeah,
we were shocking. I don't care what anyone says.
let's give Tony. I think this is where people start to think like we are Chelsea fans. We're going to talk about Chelsea more than anything else. That doesn't mean we
Yeah.
discredit what Burnley had done in that first half. Burnley took advantage of a very, very good situation for them, and they exposed our weaknesses, got their goals, and by halftime the game was over. Pretty much. That's literally all they did. And credit where credit's due. Burnley did what Burnley came to do, and Burnley got 3 points, which they never anticipated. I think a point would have been a big deal for them. So to get 3 points at Stamford Bridge on first game of the season, it's a big deal to them.
I believe, am I right in saying, I think it's their first win against us since 19, I think it's 19, I think it's 30 odd. Yeah, April 1983 was the last time they got a win against us. So it just goes to show you. And we're talking about a team here, by the way, that it took an age for them to get a win last season, didn't it? Especially a away win, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, but looking at that first half, I mean, Willian, without a doubt, was probably the shining beacon, if you like. He was very, very, definitely our best player, wasn't he? It was like the shades of 2 seasons ago, I guess.
Yeah.
But if we just sit there and analyse, I mean, in that first half, we didn't even have a shot at goal. It was absolutely woeful. But of course, the turning point, if you want to analyse it for what it was, and certainly the first talking point of the game came on 14 minutes when Gary Cahill obviously received a straight red for what. And I've got to be honest with you, mate. I've obviously being there, it's hard because for where I sit in the West Stand. I believe you was in the West Stand too, wouldn't you? Yesterday?
Yeah.
So it was the other side of the pitch, wasn't it? If you follow what I'm saying. So it's very hard to see. And do you know what? I've watched it back a few times. I've got to be honest. I've never watched Match of the Day. I don't know about you, but I don't tend to. I've tried to feed, but I've actually looked at it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, mate. I mean, I was told inside the stadium by people that have managed to get it up on their phones or people that have been contacting them during the game, and they've all said, you know, yeah, it was a terrible, reckless challenge, 2-footed, you know, straight red, doing all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, red for you, mate. You know,
and like you, I was genuinely very shocked when at the game, and you know when it happened as well, it didn't feel like something where there would be a red, not that quick, and it kind of shocked you because it's just a shock to the system. You think, God, 14 minutes gone into the new season, it's the first game of the season, and Gary Cahill, our captain, is off. He's been sent off. And you start to think, what in God's world has just happened? And I asked fellow Chelsea fans alongside me, and none of us could really tell from where we were all sat. The West Stand was not really the best for you to see that kind of stuff. And then signal in stadiums usually is pretty much lackluster, so you're kind of stuck. And having watched it back on Match of the Day and different things, I can see why the referee gave a red card. I can see where the referee has justified it to himself. And I think there is a certain element that made it very easy for the ref, which was the player that was tackled pretty much milked it. As soon as that sort of little bit of touch happened, he milked the situation and he just kind of rolled around in the floor a little bit. And that, for me, I think it was a foregone conclusion. As soon as that happened, stats were showing Gary Cahill was reckless. He was running into that. And I don't think Gary Cahill needed to do that, actually, if you ask me. I think it was quite not a smart idea by Gary Cahill to do that. I mean, he loses the ball. What's the worst that can happen? We can concede a goal. At least we still have 11 men on the pitch. Don't make that kind of stupid decision. But that occurring was just the last thing we needed. And I do think it was. Eventually, I think no matter how other people look at it, I think it was a red card. And really? I think it was very interesting to hear Mark Clattenburg actually make a statement about it afterwards and say that he felt like because the intent wasn't to hurt the player and Gary Cahill kind of just almost missed the ball and just went through on there, and he missed the play anyways, he felt like it was quite harsh for it to be a red card, especially so soon in the match. And I think that it's one of those situations where it could go either way with different types of refs, depending on what type of ref it was. But the referee we had yesterday was quite harsh, and I eventually gave the red card, which I don't think you could argue with much.
I don't know, mate. I don't think it was a red.
It was harsh. I'm not gonna lie. It was definitely
I've got a doubt about it. I've got a complete doubt about it, and I've had to watch it over and over and over. Yeah, and I'm still not convinced. And there's a lot of journals out there, mate. But you know, big papers like the Guardian and stuff like that, and they've all said, you know, yellow at best, you know. And
yeah,
it's one of those, I suppose, mate. As I said, we had the worst ref, as I say, since Anders Frisk, really, didn't we? Do you know what I mean? But you know, that's another story. But okay, so that was a massive game changer, and obviously down to 10 men up against it. But I still felt we was going to win the game. To tell you the truth, I really did. I didn't have any, you know, I thought, okay, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect what was to happen after, you know, for the rest of the first half, if you like. But of course, 2 minutes later, there was a massive point in the game, albeit that it was only a yellow card given, and it was to Cesc Fabregas. And that was the first of his 2 yellows. And it was for petulance. It was for basically applauding the referee.
Yeah.
Or basically pointing out, it was sarcastic applause, wasn't it? The ref at that point was clearly losing control, and he was, to be fair. Again, you know, when you look at what happened at the end, I mean, I'll talk about Cesc a little bit later, but it was a massive point, wasn't it? You know, that at that particular moment, you know, he was so card happy, wasn't he, mate? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I think at that point, when you see the yellow come out that quickly, also again, well, obviously Alonso got a yellow card very early on in the game, and then you have Cesc with that yellow as well. I do feel like he could have just spoken to Cesc. He could have just said to Cesc, get your head together. Look, you can't do what you just did there. The next time you do it, I will book you. And I think that would have been a fair warning to give right there and then. But instead, and I think it was a referee that was very happy to give those yellow cards. And unfortunately, he probably didn't like the color blue at that point. So, or the rest of the game, if I'm honest. But it kind of just happened very, very quickly. And I think I kind of even forgot, to be honest, that he'd given Cesc a yellow card. So what happened eventually at the end of the game kind of caught me by surprise, because when I saw that,
straight after the red, mate, straight after the red, 2 minutes later, Cesc Fabregas, because he was out of control at the time, the referee. You know, and you know, don't get me wrong, our players we went through a spell, 10, 15, well, about 10 minutes where we were trying to settle down, and you could see our heads had gone completely.
Our composure. And the manager mentioned this as well. The manager mentioned this. And it's the fact that in a game like that, we're facing Burnley. I mean, like let's imagine we were facing Man City, or we were facing Man United, or we were facing a big European team. That's where you keep your head together. I mean, we faced Barcelona at one point with 10 men. And managed to. We had John Terry sent off, and we managed to keep it. Yeah, there was a great composure. We were disciplined, and we carried the game the way we needed to, got the goals that we needed to, and we went through. We went actually through. Now, what happened yesterday in Burnley, that for me is that's where the lack of composure and lack of character sometimes starts to show itself. Because Gary Cahill gets sent off, then the whole Fabregas situation happens, and then suddenly our players just don't know how to compose themselves. We still have 10 men on the pitch. It's not all lost. We can still get this game under our control. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way, and our composure pretty much cost us the game.
Absolutely. Well, of course, then Conte made a few changes. Christensen comes on, who I thought was half decent, and we had to basically reshape. And of course, the player that had to come off was poor old Boga. But 6 minutes after that, this is where it all goes absolutely just craziness, absolute craziness, because Vokes scores for Burnley. A kind of a bit of a nothing goal, really. He kind of swiveled, didn't he? He caught hold of the ball, and it kind of crept. It almost, the ball almost took an age, didn't it, to go in? And
mate, it was slow motion. I mean, it was like one of those things where you just slowly watch the ball roll into the net and just think, wow.
Oh, Thibaut Courtois, it was almost like he was scrambling for. I mean, do you think Courtois was at fault for that, mate?
And I definitely feel like Courtois either must have seen it late. But in my eyes, Courtois should have really had that. I genuinely feel like world-class goalkeepers, one of the things that makes you world-class is the fact that you anticipate situations like this very quickly. And I don't think he even had that much power. So either the deflection was something that threw him off. He did get his hand to it. He just couldn't stop it. And I think when you look at Courtois' height, you think, mate, you should have had that. Like, it shouldn't have actually gone in. But It's one of those things where it goes in and you just think, oh man, we bite the bullet, it's fine, don't worry. It's just 1-0, we can get back through this. We just need to get disciplined. This is where our character now needs to come out.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, at that point, I was thinking, okay, 10 men, we're 1 down now.
Yeah.
I still didn't feel as though we were going to lose the game, and I still fancied to go on and win it. You know, it was just, you just felt it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I didn't feel at any point we was in trouble until obviously what happened after that, which totally took it out of sight. Well, kind of out of sight when they went 2-0 up, which was on 39 minutes. And it was a kind of a 1-2 played on the left-hand side of the park, where it was almost a long 1-2, wasn't it? It was like, it was almost too easily done. Chipped it in, and the ball just sat up, and he pinged it, and it went in the opposite side of the goal. Again, do you expect Courtois to get some kind of hand, or was it just a good strike?
I think that was a good strike. That's where Courtois, I will not fault him for that one. That was a very sweet strike there by Ward. I think, I forget what his name is. I think Stephen Ward or something like that. I can't remember the player who scored for Burnley there. But that was a very sweet strike. I think the biggest thing there is the players should have closed it down as quickly as possible. The defense could have done that.
Far too much time on that left-hand side. I sat there stunned. I was going, what's going on here? He's played a 1-2. He's had bags and bags of space.
Yeah.
And he's paid it. And it's almost just, and it's set up beautifully for him. And he's just caught it. Yeah. And it was a good goal, you know.
Very good
but
goal,
again, you know, maybe I'm being a little bit, maybe a tad overcritical for Thibaut Courtois. But of course, it's a nightmare now, and it's 2-0, and we're all sitting there. I think we're all looking at each other. I know I certainly was.
I was stunned.
My old mate John, we looked at each other and went,
I think it's not even, it isn't even the fact that you just conceded a second goal. It looked so easy for them to score that one. I mean, like, to the point where I felt like our players froze, and it was like Courtois versus Ward, and Ward just took that shot, bam, it's back of the net, and our players just were not there. And it was, I think the manner in which it happened was far more shocking and more stunning to us than anything else. It was a very sweet strike. I think Courtois had pretty much no chance in that one, and that's probably why it went in. I think N'Golo Kante tried to get him, but I think because it's inside the penalty area, it's one of those ones where the risk you take almost is sometimes very difficult to kind of outweigh. And unless you are very sure you can get the ball, you always end up taking the safe option of hoping that you try and put them off. He didn't manage to do it, and unfortunately, it was back of the net. So it's one of those things where I was like, I don't know why I still had hope. At 2-0, I'm still like, we still have hope.
I'm thinking now a draw.
Yeah, in my mind, I still think
ever the optimist, forever the optimist. You know,
honestly speaking, at that moment, I still think no, we can get back in this, and let's just get to halftime with this 2-0. We can't concede any more goals. No. We just need to be at 2-0, and then obviously
we do. 4 minutes later, a free kick. I've got to tell you, the free kick was perfect. It was sandwiched in between two defenders.
Yeah.
And Vogue again. It's almost had all the time in the world.
He wasn't even marked. It was a dead sort of cross, and it just literally sweetly fell into his head, and he headed it in. There was no chance for us to do anything about that one. But that for me was the killer blow. At that point,
well, that was almost like you had to laugh then.
All hell broke loose, because where I was sat, a lot of Chelsea fans, including me, we were so angry. We were so angry that it was that easy for them to make it 3-0. Because all I thought in that point is, no, I'm sorry. The first 2 goals I was a bit of accepting, was trying to find composure. We've just lost Gary Cahill, our captain. All kinds of stuff are happening. The game is just a little bit all over the place. We just need to get to halftime. The third goal, I think, just like everyone on that at the stadium, we all just thought, well, that's it. It's over. Like, it's 3-0. All I'm thinking at that point, Tony, that's where my hope then turned completely into, let's not make this an embarrassing day.
Yeah.
Can we just make it at least 3-2 or something like that? Anything would do. We can't go home without scoring.
That was the killer for me, because I'm thinking, oh, well, this is just craziness now. You've gone from hope to joke, and you know it's one of those. And of course, in the final seconds, the closing moments of that first half, they nearly nicked a fourth. You know, I mean, our heads are gone. It was just you know, the crowd. You could see the crowd was shocked. the reactions, it was just like, it was almost like it was a nightmare, wasn't it? Absolute nightmare at that point, And all optimism. I mean, my glass is always, half full, mate, not half empty. But there you go, and that's the first half, buddy. It closes out, and of course, the question I wanted to ask, which we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, was then came the boos. Now, as we know, the press have made quite a thing about this. That we booed the players off the park. I mean, was it aimed at the referee? I mean, do you know what, mate? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. And I'm being straight with you, mate. I'm not entirely sure, because I think it was one of just, what can you do as a sort of supporter? You sat there, it's the first game of the season. We've all waited all season for it. Burnley at home, we expect 3 points. Let's be honest. We know we've got a few injuries. There's been a little bit of negativity during the close season. We're not in the greatest of form. Let's be honest. But we're all expected to win. Well, when you're 3-0 down at half time with 10 men, it's kind of gone. Or at least it needs a miracle, doesn't it? It needs a West Ham back in the day one where we come back. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not. I want to believe it was aimed at the referee, and I think we've got that one. What's your opinion on it, mate? You obviously think it was all aimed at the ref, yeah?
I think it was aimed at the referee. I think any Chelsea fan that was at that stadium just felt very hard done by. The referee's decisions were just like, it was angering us, because there was fouls that should have been given that weren't given, fouls that were being given against us that just felt very light and very easy to give. Almost like we touch a Burnley player, he falls down, bam, foul. I'm like, what the, like this is a physical league. What do you mean? What are you actually doing, ref? And it's then the yellow cards coming out at us, but there's like the yellow cards are not coming out for Burnley.
They're getting away with it. Yeah.
And it was just so much. 3-0 as a scoreline. We are not happy. Don't get me wrong. We're definitely not happy as fans. But we didn't turn on the players, because as far as we are concerned, we have a second half to still go, and we have a never give up attitude that we wanted to make sure these players, when they do come back out, come out with a different mindset. And I think we have enough belief in the manager as well as the players themselves to actually do something about what the scoreline was showing. Because 3-0 was definitely not going to be the full-time score. At that point, all we were thinking is, this can't be something where it's almost, because I think a lot of people looked at that and they felt like they just went back straight to that Mourinho season that we had, where it was just completely like it was dead. And I think the biggest thing is we had no composure, but we showed no sort of character or will to want to fight in that first half. It just looked all over the place.
We almost goal.
Yeah, we
Willian was trying to win it on his own. We had no there was no composure. There was nothing. Probably standout players, probably Angola, Kante, and Willian. Apart from that, I thought it was just appalling at the back. We were completely out of sort. Like you said, it was just a nightmare, a whole nightmare. And I've got to be honest with you, I don't even know where that, that sort of interval period, that 10-15 minutes where I normally like go and maybe go and get a drink or something, or whatever. I sat there and I don't even know where that went. All I know is all the players are out again. You know what I mean? Because I just sat there thinking,
like, what the hell?
Honestly, I'm trying to get the internet working as well on my phone. It was time sort of thing. And I'm thinking, oh, mate, I can imagine everyone must be having a right field day, right now. And you just sat there, aren't you? Like almost sort of, I don't know, just stunned, But it was what it was. And obviously we move on to the second half. I mean, it was probably one of the worst 45 minutes of, I've seen from us for years and years and years.
In terms of composure, that was definitely the worst.
Absolutely. So we're completely and utterly up against it. I mean, did you have any point at that point? Did you have any expectations? Did you think? Because at the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe we'll get that miracle. We'll be talking to our grandkids.
You know what? It's one of those things where every Chelsea fan is thinking at that point, maybe, like, give me some boots, let me get on this pitch. Because at this point, you just want to show the players you need to fight. You can't. This second half performance has to be one of character, one of discipline, one of we need to get back in this game anyway. How?
If the supporters, I mean, I'm not saying they are, but if there was any jeers towards the performance of the first half, it turned to applause at the end of the second because of the fight that they showed. Now, what was very evident is the players came out quite early, so Conte must have destroyed them in that dressing room, or at least pointed out which things, you know,
The obvious,
in a polite way. Yeah, the obvious, because the players, the Chelsea players, are on the pitch waiting for Burnley to emerge, weren't they?
Yeah.
So they were all fired up, and of course we got a completely different feel to it. We were creating chances right from the start. There was a different vibe.
Yeah.
Alonso, a Rudiger free kick. Alonso went close. We had, you know, quite a few chances, and then on 51 we had a penalty decision that was. I don't know if you remember it at all, Mo, where Alonso strikes the ball and he hits the lower shoulder area. If you know, I don't know if it was shown on Match of the Day or whatever.
It
So
wasn't, shockingly enough.
Well, no, and this is the funny thing. When me and you were sat there in Starbucks after the game yesterday, I said, you know what's going to happen is, right, there's going to be a lot of emphasis about Chelsea fans having to go at the referee, and they won't show, you know, when you show...
And they will just show the obvious things of the red cards and like that
You won't
stuff.
see all the other little bits, will you? That all kind of acts as a combination. You think, do you know what, enough is enough, mate? And I mean, that was penalty, you know, appeal number one, where it hit the top half of his shoulder, if you follow what I'm saying. I don't know if you remember that at all, buddy. I mean, was that a penalty for you at all? Do you think that was a shout?
From where I was,
good shout, wasn't it?
From where I was, I honestly felt like it could have gone either way. It could have either gone as, yep, definitely a penalty. The ref could give it. And in that scenario, it was like also at the same time, maybe it's a little bit close. The referee will argue that case. And clearly the ref was just like, nope, not having it, continue, play on. And that's exactly what happened, and it just played on. And I
waved straight on, didn't he? Waved straight on.
He didn't even have to think about it. Like, it wasn't even like he'd already made up his mind. It was definitely not a penalty, and he just kind of moved on. But I think every Chelsea fan, again, we thought like, great, like that's definitely a handball from where we're sitting. It looked like it struck his hand, and it looked like he had enough time. It was more to do with the fact that his hand was like just up in the air like that, and he thought, man, what are you doing? But it's again,
and the old 1970 classic tunes were coming out from the terraces. The referee's a wanker. The old classics were coming out, you know. And he was, you know. Let's be honest, mate. But well, for me now, the biggest game-changing moment of the game, if you like, was 58 minutes when Vera Morata comes on for Michy Batshuayi, which got probably the biggest cheer of the day, to be fair. And of course, it gave us all a lift, mate. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Should he have played the game? Was that a mistake? Playing Batshuayi?
Honestly speaking, I don't regret us starting Michy Batshuayi. I mean, because we couldn't have predicted that the game was going to go the way it did. I do think, however, that first half showed us exactly why Antonio Conte has been very hesitant with him. And I think preseason kind of shows you always the brighter aspect. Although we'd lost games, Michy Batshuayi was on fire, and he thought, mate, this guy is definitely heading into the season looking like he's definitely sharp and he's going to be fine. But honestly, in that first half, the amount of times we could have had build-up play just to his hold-up play, it would have been so great for him just to hold the ball and pass it to one of his teammates. He couldn't get that job done.
It was bouncing off him, wasn't it? It was bouncing off him.
It was bouncing off him. His first touch was poor. He just didn't look hungry. He wasn't making the defenders work. He wasn't making runs. It was just so obvious in that first 45 minutes. If he didn't come out in the second half, it wouldn't have shocked me. Morata should have, in my opinion, started in that second half. As simple as he should have started. Because in my opinion, Morata was, I think, in that type of game, you need character. You need somebody that's just willing to push, but you need a person that has the physical ability to actually say, no, I am not going to let these defenders actually make me like push me or physically like abuse me, because that's what it kind of felt like. It felt like physical abuse, and Batshuayi had no answer for the situation.
Well, he comes on, obviously, 58, as I say, massive game changer for me. And then, of course, 61 minutes, and we'll analyse it, you know, throughout the minutes of the game. Alonso's free kick, where their goalkeeper Heaton, he makes a bit of a worldie, doesn't he? You know, he pushes it over.
That was a good save.
And yeah, it was a great save. And we're getting closer. There's no two ways about it. And then on 63, and here's another one, another controversial one. And again, I don't know if this was shown on MOTD, but is it Ben Mee? He takes out Morata. I mean, what was the difference between that and Cahill?
And That's a good question. I wish we had Craig Paulson to answer that question right here with us, and unfortunately, he isn't.
Yeah.
And that would be a great answer to get from him, just because to us it looked like the same damn thing, and nothing happens again. So you just kind of move on. At that point, I was laughing at the
They
refs
were just, we were just
decisions.
clocking up. It was
Yeah,
actually at that point. You see, it's kind of gone from this. I mean, you've got the massive disappointment, 3-0 down. You know, it's almost like a travesty. You know, injustice if you follow what. And of course, all these decisions are mounting up. It's just getting worse. The crowd's getting pissed off. You know, the linos. Why don't they? I mean, what is the point of a linesman apart from checking whether a player's onside or offside?
literally, I think that's why I think they're there maybe to advertise the flags at best, and so they just carry these little flags and just yep, offside, not offside, or okay, sorry, we got it wrong, it's all right. It almost feels like, I feel like a situation where the video sort of footage to support and the referees is something we really need to bring into the Premier League game as soon as possible, because it's decisions like that you start to think, like, it's hard for us to actually just rely on, like, we understand a referee is a human being, he's trying to be very neutral, he's doing a hard job, we get that, it's completely understandable, but when you make decisions, it has to kind of reflect on both teams. You can't suddenly just make certain decisions with one team and not make that same decision with the other team. And I think that's where you feel quite hard done by. That's why you start to feel like the referee is being unjust. That's where you feel like the referee definitely needs to be called into question. And the thing is, in reality, what is the punishment for a referee if they kind of mess up? What if they get a decision wrong and it cost the team a game, or there could have been a yellow card or a controversial moment? What is it that happens to these refs?
There's a lot of ex-refs, you know. I've actually checked out, you know, a bit of his history, if you like, and he's been called into question more often than not, actually, with some of the, you know, officiating that he's done down the years, you know, and mistakes that he's made, big errors, you know. Just a lot of them, like, you know. And I never slag the referee. I'm not like Bully of Arsenal Fans TV, where every minute, oh, the referee done this, oh, the referee done that. I've never, ever really gone into about the referee. It's very rare I'll bring up the referee, to be fair. I'll be saying, well, shit, we were good, they were good, we were overweight, whatever.
Yeah.
It's never really about the referee for me, but I just think it was that poor. So poor. Anyway, 69 minutes in, and obviously, great moment. Morata gets his goal, and fantastic movement, great timing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good header, and lovely little ball in from Willian. Just, I mean, the goal for you, mate, class, wasn't it?
Mate, it was the biggest difference between Morata being on the pitch and Batshuayi being on the pitch. Morata anticipated what Willian was going to do. Morata made the run. Morata got on the header, and Morata scored. Morata was hungry. Morata was ready. Morata, in my eyes, at that point, proved exactly why he deserves a chance. And I think it was definitely a big relief for not just Chelsea fans, but for Morata himself to silence the critics very quickly. Because at the end of the day, he came on that pitch, and his presence was felt on that pitch. Batshuayi, the only presence we felt is frustration, because he just simply couldn't get the job done. And I get it. He played for 58 minutes, but in that 58 minutes, we just needed him to do something. Anything would have helped in that situation. I don't even think he got a shot. And
he didn't, mate.
And that's where you just think, like, mate, what were you doing? Like, what were you on the pitch for? Should we have sacrificed him instead of Jeremy Boga? Because then at least Burnley wouldn't have been attacking and exploiting one end in that first half, getting those 3 goals. Because there was one end they kept on exploiting, and it's the end that Batshuayi wasn't covering when William was covering the other side.
Yeah.
Because that left-hand side, they were bombarding our left-hand side, and I believe, if I'm correct,
he wanted to repair the damage at the back and create the same balance and everything else. But he had players that, I mean, like, for example, Aspilicueta, well, you know, it was moved further forward, wasn't he? We know what happens with Aspilicueta. He checks in, doesn't he? You know, instead of getting down that flank and getting those crosses in, which we know, Alonso or Moses will do that job for us. Obviously, it's not his game as such, is it? You know, it just naturally will cut him and he'll check him, won't he? You know, but fantastic goal, fantastic, great to get him, you know, off the mark, scoring in front of his, you know, home fans, and do wonders for his confidence. And then, of course, as the game goes on, 4 minutes later, as I say, it was absolutely littered with moments and situations and controversy and everything else, we get a goal, which would have. I'll tell you now, if this goal stood. Now, if this goal stood, I swear to you, we would have either got a draw or we would have gone on to have won, because we had the momentum with us at the time, and this would have been a massive moment.
Yeah.
And am I right in saying that it was Christensen
that took
that took it? Now, Morata just made sure, didn't he?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, it turned it into an offside situation, and that's where we needed the referee
That's
to show a bit of balance. I've made a few mistakes. Well, let them have that one.
Yeah.
You know,
it would have been nice.
But no.
We were begging.
That's when the linesman suddenly done his job. Didn't he?
Yeah.
You know, everything went wrong. You know, and I must admit at the time, because I on the videos after the game, it's hard, isn't it? Because you're seeing it live. And my thoughts about that was a perfectly good goal was offside, but I suppose within the rules of the game,
it's definitely offside.
Yeah. But you've seen them given, haven't you?
You've seen them happen, but it's not. We didn't have that luck on our side to have that type of situation happen for us. And to be honest, that probably would have been the headline if we had either gone to draw or win the game. It would have been the headline: Chelsea win in a controversial encounter with Burnley. You could imagine the headlines. And I think at the end of the day, it was offside. It's one of those things where you just kind of hoped Christensen actually just took a shot and just basically made sure that it goes straight to the net, and he just did that.
Would have gone in. It would have gone in, wouldn't it?
That's where, for me, it's a bit. I'm still not sure. It looked like it was definitely on its way out, or it could have hit the post and come back out again, and it may have been cleared by a Burnley defender. It just didn't look like it was going to make it there, and that's why I understand why Morata tried to actually score.
Yeah. And of course, more stuff happened from then on. And of course, Burnley, what they did then is there was all the time wasting of, slowing things down. The goalkeeper should have been sent off. He should have had a yellow card for time wasting. And of course, because the referee didn't act on it when the crowd was saying, "Get on, give him a yellow card. This is ridiculous." Of course, he did it even more, didn't he? And he carried on doing it.
I mean, how many times does the referee have to say to the goalkeeper, hurry up, and then he's pointing to his watch, and he clearly knows the guy's time wasting. He'd done that at least 4 to 5 times. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you give him a yellow card, you don't have to do that, ref, anymore.
It stops it.
Just
stops it
immediately. You need to give him a yellow card, and you need to give someone that is trying to do a throw-in, anyone that was trying to take a free kick and taking their long ass time with it. You needed to book them, ref, because at the end of the day, Burnley wants to win this game so badly, and they were a time waste, and rightly so. They're allowed to do that. It's absolutely fine. What isn't fine is for the referee not to recognize that and actually discipline the situation. He didn't, and for me, that's what I thought. The referee was a joke. That's for me is where I draw the line. Because it's like, how can you not actually book?
Well, we were starting to get a momentum. The crowd was with us then. The crowd was really, we could feel it. We just scored a second and it was disallowed. We were on the front foot for sure, and you kind of felt the momentum was with us, and they were doing everything to try and slow it, and I suppose in a professional way. But and then of course 4 minutes later, is it Arfield? He goes straight through Alonso.
Yep.
Straight red.
It's definitely arguable. I mean, the replays I keep seeing are the replays that show it in from a certain angle. For me, for the ref to have made that decision so accurately and actually just say it's not a red, for me was very shocking.
And then of course what he then does, Mo, is he then goes and books David Luiz for protesting.
Yeah, of course. It's one of those things where you can see why Fabregas started to clap, because even Fabregas thought, wow, that's a foul. Okay, well done, ref. And it's one of those things. Talk to the player. You don't have to book him. But no, the referee, I think, on that day clearly did not like blue.
No. And then a few seconds later, we're now getting into the 81st minute. The final throws of the last 10 minutes of the game, and then of course we go down to 9 men. Cesc Fabregas. Now I got to be honest with you. Where I sit second row. second row. Bang smack in the middle of the pitch. And I had a pretty good view of this, and I thought at the time he got a touch on the ball. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. So Fabregas was absolutely appalled by it, wasn't he?
He was definitely.
See on the chat there, there's a couple of people that said, no, that was a definite, But look, even if it was a yellow, he got a yellow because it was a double yellow because of what happened before. Like you say, the applauding the refs, inept performance, if you like. What did you think of that? Did you think he deserved to go, or did you think the referee caused? There was so much because of what he caused earlier that he had no choice, and he kind of put himself in that situation. I mean, it just made it farcical, didn't it? The whole thing,
It's one of those things where I think Fabregas should have been quite careful in that situation, because I think if you're already booked, you don't really go in for tackles like that. I think you try to make sure you remain with the people that you have and you finish the game off. And I think Fabregas took a risk, and the risk didn't pay off. I think the ref was right to book him and give him that second yellow card and send him off. And unfortunately, in that situation, it never really helped us, because then we had more of a hard work to do in just simply losing Fabregas out there, because it's just that creativity that you needed to just break them down, because they were defending in their numbers. At that point, Burnley were not about scoring whatsoever. Burnley were about defending. And I think we really had momentum on our side. And that red card, that second red card in particular with Fabregas, was again another little bit of a killer blow of our momentum, and it kind of just.
I thought the player made completely the most of that,
And it didn't really surprise me, because again, Burnley players were kind of milking quite a lot of situations. The referee was falling for it quite a lot, and again, they weren't getting booked much. And I think I said in the video that we did before that that one of the reasons why the referee was pissing me off is he never gave Burnley any yellow cards. What I actually meant, to correct myself, is that the yellow cards that should have been given as well, he wasn't giving. I knew that there was 3 Burnley players that at least got given 3 yellow cards, but the fact of the matter is Tom Heaton should have been on a yellow card, never was. There was other players that I can't remember at what point needed to be in yellow cards, never were.
Well,
and I think what it does is these players suddenly then can't commit to certain things. They can't make certain tackles. They can't. It puts them a little bit on the edge. It gets them a bit more nervous. And by not giving them those yellow cards, what you do is you're simply making it easier for them, as far as I'm concerned, especially when it's deserved.
You see, now I think what happened then, this is what really impressed me the most about Chelsea now, was the fact that we were down to 9. And what we actually got out, it was almost like those players, instead of because we've been putting pressure on them anyway, and they've been deliberately time wasting, and they've been all these terrible decisions. We kind of got to that point where they thought, right, that's it now. We've done it now. They're down to 9 men. We've still got the 2-goal cushion. It's in the bag, one of them ones. But what I was really impressed with, it's like them Chelsea players, it was almost like an anger came out from within, and they push like nothing else. And what made it even more horrendous again was the fact that we had a penalty decision turned down again 2 minutes later. Alonso, which again, 50-50, that could have been given on any. He waved that away. Just one decision after another. And then, of course, 1 minute later, Morata gets an assist. And
it was a lovely cross by Dave. We have to say that Dave's cross there was actually perfect. And then Morata with a lovely, just backhand, a flick on header, just completely not even looking towards the direction. He saw David Luiz just running on that side and perfectly placed it where David Luiz was going.
Well, what was incredible then was, 3-2, and you're thinking, well, maybe, it is 1 to 2 your grandchildren. We're going to come back, 9 men, and, absolutely, what an ending. And the funny thing for me was right at the end, and I know I mentioned this on the videos after the game, was the sight of seeing all 11 Burnley players behind the ball, all camped in their own half, trying against nine Chelsea players.
Mate, you're playing at Stamford Bridge, and you're beating the champions 3-2. I think you do whatever it's necessary at that point to save the points.
Holding on against 9 men, it's crazy, wasn't it? But
it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like it doesn't surprise me in the Premier League that stuff like that actually happens. I think sometimes you feel a bit more angry that these teams don't do it against other big teams. It especially hurts when your team has to face that type of situation where you're like, okay, make sure you do that against Man United, but Man United, they try to be maybe a little bit more adventurous, and you think, for God's sake, you had one job, get 11 men behind behind the ball and make sure you defend your goal and win the game, however ugly it is. And then they just won't, and you just think, oh, for God's sake, okay, you're going to do that against Chelsea at some point, and they go in and do it.
And then, of course, the 4 minutes extra time, they were doing everything possible, weren't they, to see
We
it
were
out.
close.
And,
We were so close.
And of course, you know, game's over, and you kind of sat there thinking, well, I applauded the team off.
I applauded the team too, yeah.
Massive noise at the end, you know.
Big difference. I think the players redeemed themselves with that second half performance.
Yeah.
I think individual errors were there for us to see, but other than that, to be very honest with you, for us to show that sort of fight and will, I'm like, that at least gives us a bit of hope that maybe things can actually get better, especially when we have our football stars back, because that's without Pedro on the field, that's without Eden Hazard on the field, that's without Bakayoko on the field, that's with Morata pretty much playing and from 58 minutes onwards. So what you're looking at there, and you played with 10 men, and at one point 9 men. So it's a very bad situation. I think ideally we don't want to lose. I think a draw would have at least made us feel like it was a victory almost, because again, it was very bad circumstances. But the fact that the players showed that will and character to say, you know what, we're going to still try and be able to actually get back to 3-2, for me, it was like, that's the least I expected of you after we went 3-0 down. Well done. Yeah, but we need to still fix up.
Great character. Okay, so in terms of marks out of 10, in terms of performance, what would you give it? First half, 1. Second half, maybe a 7 or an 8.
Second half, I would say, I feel like we could have been better, but I generally have to say, if considering what sort of circumstance we were facing, you've got to at least say 7.5 out of 10 is for me what I would have given it. Because if you had 11 Chelsea players on that field, there's no way Burnley would have survived that situation.
Well, it was 12 against 9, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had possession, we had more passing, we had more shots, we had so much of everything with just 10 men, then down to 9 men. In my eyes, I'm like, it could have just been far more brutal for Burnley if we had the equal amount of players on that field, and if we actually had the real key players on our field.
And the 12th, obviously, man, being the referee. Now, talking about the referee, would you say...
At one point, we were singing 3-1 to the referee.
Yeah, that's true where we were, actually, yeah.
I was cracking up, honestly.
Yeah. So, would you say that was the worst referee? Because I actually made a statement, didn't I? I said it's the worst referee ever. And then I thought, I had this Frisk, that semi-final against Barca.
And we've had some refereeing decisions go against us in the past. And I think it was
close. It was close.
It was definitely close with one of the worst for us. I think, and I genuinely feel like it was just one of those games that was just very mad. It's the first game of the season. I genuinely felt like I felt quite excited, quite optimistic. I felt like we were going to get a win, but I didn't think that it was going to be necessarily easy, because I understood that we didn't really have a real strong team out there. But I felt like we had a team that could get the job done. So it was obviously a big shock to all of us when the game ends and you're thinking, my God, we're leaving here with no points at home on our first game of the season, and we are actually champions. It's a tough pill to swallow. So from that perspective, I think it was definitely very hard to take in. But I think a loss is one thing, but then when you feel hard done by the referee, or you don't feel like the referee was fair towards your team, that's a tough pill to swallow. And I think the result, I'll be very honest, could have been quite different had he at least, I'm not even going to say he should have sent players off. I do feel like there was at least one sending off in there. But the fact that he didn't give any of the penalty shouts, the fact that there was barely any yellow cards other than the 3 he gave to the Burnley players, was shocking. Yeah. And I think the referee definitely was more strict on Chelsea than he was on Burnley. And from that perspective, I do feel like that contributed towards the result of the game. And we could have gotten out with a better result had the referee done the job a little bit more fair, in my opinion.
And I suppose we've got to say fair play, well done, Burnley.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I said, it's been such a long time for them to get a result against us, and you know, they
They deserve it.
they beat the champions in their own backyard, you know. And
Yeah.
what can you say? Okay, I want to ask you actually, Mo. The sendings off. Are you a little bit worried? I mean, that's 4 players now in 3 games, if you include the cup final.
Yeah.
Are you a little bit worried about it? I see Antonio Conte was made a little in jest sort of comment, didn't he, about having to find some kind of tactical setup, you know, to accommodate the 10-men factor that we seem to have found disposal every game. But I mean, are you a bit worried, mate? Is it just a set of circumstances, or is it a trend?
And I think what it does show is that this and our composure and this discipline is something we need to definitely work on, because it's not those types of games where you need to be losing your head. It's those types of games where you need to be very, very well mannered in terms of how you approach the game. You understand that the circumstance your team is in. You analyze the situation and you play part of the team. I think it's very evident to us right now that when situations like that happen and the referee does us unjust, I think the players, rightly so, just like us as fans, they react to situations. And I think when you're on the field, some of them start to feel emotionally hard done by, and bam, they end up either going into tackles or doing something really stupid. I mean, we have Diego Costa. We have Diego Costa for the last a few seasons. And he was hard work in that regards too, because the referees found it very difficult to kind of engage. They're very difficult to kind of keep under control. And Diego Costa likes to play on the edge of the game. And I think last year was the first year where we've seen him actually quite pretty much tone it down. And that was the first time I think we started to get rid of this image of Chelsea as a team that can sometimes go ugly at things, because we're really not. If you look at our players, we're not players that are very aggressive in the way in which we play. I think what it does show, though, is that composure and discipline is something we really need to work on. And I think the referee and Tony Conte, more than anything, will try and get and nail that into them, because it's really important, especially when you're playing in big games. I mean, if it was the Champions League knockout stages and our players lost it like that, mate, it'd be a tough pill to swallow once again, because you just think, like, as players, as much as you feel like the ref is hard done by and all of that stuff, you think, players, come on, you've got to recognize the situation for what it is and make the best of whatever bad situation you're in. So I do think that it was just a very bad situation. I think I am really worried, actually. I will be very honest, because we're facing Spurs. All I'm wondering is who's going to play alongside N'Golo Kante.
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute, mate. I mean, have you got any concerns about our form? I mean, all right, the Charity Shield or Community Shield was a draw.
Yeah.
We lost on penalties, but okay, it still goes down as a defeat, doesn't it? Because we didn't win it. It's 4 on the spin now, if you include Inter and Bayern. Was it Bayern? Yeah, Bayern. Yeah. And I suppose if you go one further, cup final, since winning the title.
Mm-hmm. And
are you worried about our form?
I'm not really. The reason I'm not really is because I look at it I look at it pretty much as like preseason is preseason. It's not. I don't look at it as a results sort of game. I look at it as our players need to get the fitness up. Our players need to and make sure that they understand each other's way of play, and our players just need to be given chances, especially the players that have a thing to prove about themselves. And I think that's how we kind of approach preseason. We did try to play our best players, but then when you have players who, I mean, we didn't make the Morata signing until late on, so he only played basically 2 games, and he didn't play full games in those games either, if I'm correct. And in that situation, it already tells you quite a lot about the situation. Hazard's injured, Bakayoko is still recovering from his surgery. It means you don't really get an understanding of what is your best team. And I think the Community Shield, we lost on penalties, mate. And Arsenal had a great first half. We had a great second half. And I know that obviously Wenger and all of these Arsenal fans kept on saying like, oh yeah, they were going back into the game in the second half. Generally speaking, until that red card happened, until
yeah, we were coaching that game.
Yeah, we were coaching. I generally felt like we were going to win 1-0. that situation happened. The free kick came, bam, they equalized 1-1. We go straight to not even extra time. We go straight to penalties. So in my mind, penalties anyways game.
We're susceptible to that ball, aren't we? Have you not noticed that? You know, that diagonal one that goes in between the two
into the crosses, yeah. I think we have to find that one. We definitely have to find solutions to certain set piece situations, because again, whenever the ball is crossed into that penalty area, I feel like we almost have a freak out. And if there's 3 centre backs in there, I don't understand why we have freak outs. I think it means you position yourself, you're aware of where your teammates are, and you get the job done. You clear it all out. I felt like that 3rd goal that Sam Vogel scored was something completely avoidable. Something completely avoidable. Like in all reality, it fell perfectly to him. He was not even marked. There was no one in sight. And I think that tells you quite a lot. And then you have set pieces like, for example, in that Arsenal game, where it was very easy for them to cross, and bam, they scored, bam, they end up winning on penalties. And I think it's something.
Well, they adopted, didn't they, in the last stages of the game? Not we want to talk about, but that long approach, didn't they? Because they brought on Giroud, and you knew they were going to knock it, and different type of player, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but it does make you understand why Antonio Conte is so strong about wanting Fernando Llorente, because I think that's a similar approach he would try and do himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually see some movement on that one, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so I mean, you don't feel this is like 2 years ago, and that was our Swansea City?
Oh hell no. We've got
people are making comparisons.
No, I think in that scenario, what didn't help us is the Eva Canera situation happened. Mourinho wasn't backing down, and then you had the behind-the-scenes stuff actually brewing. The media then on top of it, the players then not feeling that great and not feeling prepped and coming literally unfit to the flipping league and stuff like that. You just can't flipping have. And I think this is a season where I'm not so worried about that, because I think Antonio Conte has his players drilled. I think the one thing I don't worry about is he works them really hard, which means that when they do come to the pitch, the only thing you have to worry about is maybe he works them too hard. But that's not something you face very soon, early on in the season. I think that's the part that doesn't worry about me. It's the fact that I know Antonio Conte has got the right character to get these players disciplined, to get them to work hard, and to make sure that they stay fit and come into the season with the right mindset. I do think what needs to happen in this scenario is the board just needs to back us. The board needs to back the club, and the board needs to make the signings that are needed. Not backup signings, the signings that are needed to actually make us competitive, not just with the Man Cities, with the Man Uniteds and whoever else is in this league, but also actually in the European Cups as well. Because at the end of the day, if we want to be in the caliber of Real Madrid, Barcelona, and PSG at this point, you have to add them to the list, because when they're spending money like that, they're not spending that type of money to finish second or runners up in the Champions League. They want to win shit. And I think that is something we have to take very seriously. And as a club, I understand we want to build a stadium. Go get a sponsor, sell shares, do whatever you need to do. But the club needs players in order to do that. Otherwise, you have a Spurs situation, just in a very different manners. Players that play for a club that isn't ambitious enough or doesn't have players, other stars coming to it, will eventually say, I'm going to go to the clubs where the players are going towards. That's why you have Liverpool losing Coutinho. That's why you don't want this happening like at Chelsea. You can't. And you have to make sure players always are put under that pressure. And we need to make sure we sign players that compete with our players, not players that make our players feel complacent and relaxed. I want players to feel scared for their position. For me, it sounds almost illogical to say that kind of stuff. But honestly speaking, come on. For me, it's all about competition, and that will get the best out of our team.
You see, now it's rather interesting because you mentioned the board, and of course, when people talk about the transfer window or throughout the summer, etc., and the players we were linked with, and this, that, and the other, the level of criticism always gets thrown at the board, and obviously on one particular person, if you like,
MNO,
did you watch the Sunday supplement?
I unfortunately didn't get a chance to.
Well, it's really interesting because, as you know, it's a journalist, and they all sit around and these guys are supposedly in the know and all that, and they threw out a different. I suppose everything's about perception in life, but they threw out a different look of the whole Chelsea situation, and they said that they felt the problem was Conte, not the board.
Interesting.
They felt, yeah, they felt that it was more like the fact that he's been moaning and bitching and whining. You know, I'm tired. I'm this. I'm that. I've not got the players that I've got. The players that I really want. I'm going to struggle if we're not going to do this. The fact that although he signed the deal, it wasn't a new deal. It was just an extension of what he had already.
Yeah.
There was the tech situation with Diego Costa,
yeah.
and the fact that they could argue that Chelsea, for all their the board's inabilities to not close off certain deals, and we all know what happened with Lukaku and the kid at Juventus, Alexandro, and stuff like that. But equally, they've brought in 3 players of exceptional quality that you could argue is better than what we had already. Because a lot of Chelsea fans and a lot of people that kind of don't understand things, look, don't get me wrong, I think Matic against the Manchester United was stupid, right? It was a stupid decision. Not because it's Nemanja Matic and he's a great player. I just feel that anything to help the opposition, especially ones that are going to be very competitive against us, and we all know they're going to be strong this year because we're in their second year.
Well, they won 4-0 today, and Matic put in a great performance. So,
great performance. Now, he's a good player, but we all know he's a Marmite player. Yeah, he's not one of them. We bought a player purposely to fulfill his position. Bakayoko was that player. That's what we bought. Now, you could argue that Bakayoko is a better player than Nemanja Matic. That's why we bought him, for that position. And you've got N'Golo Kante, you've got Bakayoko. They play internationally. All right, he's only got, is it 1 cap or whatever, but he's at that level. He's a good player, a quality player that I feel we're going to be a tremendous side. I mean, that is real solidity in those positions. Personally, for me, Matic would have been a bench player, always a bench player. If you had the choice of Bakayoko, Matic, Bakayoko. If you're playing against an opposition where you don't need 2 holding mids, it'd be N'Golo Kante plus the luxury of someone like Cesc Fabregas. The point I'm trying to make here, is that the way these guys are putting it out there is that Chelsea almost play a game of chess. They like negotiating. You know, they don't want to get the piss taken out of them no more. Do you know what I mean? So they'll say, look, that's what our valuation is. Take it or leave it. We think that. Do you know what I mean? And there's been certain players where let's be honest. The kid that went to Manchester City,
Danilo,
Danilo, the right back, there was only 3 million quid in that deal. 3 million quid. Now, something tells me that Chelsea just felt, well, no, that's the valuation. That's where we see him at. We're not going to pay no more. We're not going to have the piss taken out of us. We're not at that desperate level as of yet. And of course, you could argue with our squad, for example. Now, a lot of people talk about our squad, and in terms of high quality, top draw players, of course, when you're talking in terms of the size of it, then it was very evident when you looked at the Community Shield program, wasn't it? In the back page, and you see the Arsenal one, it went all the way down the page, and you see ours like third going down. And funny enough, ours was bigger than Burnley's yesterday. Did you notice that? But equally, what about the kids? What about these kids? These incredibly talented kids that, surely you can't ignore those kids. Do you know what I mean? So it depends how you look at it. Someone said to me that 2 years ago, Nathan Ake was way ahead of Dele Alli. And now look at Dele Alli. What sort of money is he worth now? If you look at Spurs and you look at where Spurs have come, let's be honest, Spurs have been this club challenging for titles, or at least thought of as a side challenging for titles. And in the last couple of years, they have, haven't they? Or at least they've emerged now as a serious contender. I don't think they'll win it, but they're in that 4, aren't they? Let's be honest now, But that's because they took the plunge with kids and youth and everything else. And of course, they haven't got the same expectations as Chelsea, as Antonio Conte pointed out. But I mean, what do you think about that? Because what they're saying is they're seeing it from a different perspective. They're saying, well, if you were Chelsea right now, you'd be thinking, well, hang on a minute. You sent a text because Textgate, true or not true. It's clearly there's a massive relationship broken down now. But you could argue that the board we've got Morata in. He's a high quality player. By the way, a player that we've had to, was it 65 million? Was it 65 million? 70 million?
Yeah, 70
million pounds.
with adults. Yeah.
You haven't even played him first game. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So look, and I'm not saying this is true or this is not true. I'm just throwing it out there, mate. Yeah, because this is what it's all about. We're a debate. It's all about debating and looking at different angles, you know, and everything else. That's their take on it. I mean, any truth on that? Do you feel there's a different angle, isn't it?
It's a different angle, but an angle that I still think is all about trying to dig the grave for Chelsea. I genuinely do, because I think it's, and you play the whole angle of the board being not behind the manager yet again. It's a story they've been running for pretty much how many years now, and they probably have gotten bored of that. So it's a story to now run on saying that the managers are now making situations very difficult, and the manager is complaining, and the manager isn't doing this and doing that. The fact of the matter is, I do think that when you look at the situation, I think Antonio Conte has every right to complain, because Antonio Conte came in at a season where I don't think we were necessarily expected to go win the title. Not with the squad that we currently had, especially when you look at the fact that the season before, the squad collapsed and we finished in a situation where none of us would have ever anticipated as champions. And you thought, okay, well, next season we want to get back in the top four. We want to make sure we stabilize the situation, and then we want to make sure we attract the right players again, because we had to go a season without Champions League football. Now that's very difficult to go attract the right players. So in my mind, all I thought is, okay, in that season, if we don't make big signings, I'm okay with that. I can live with that. All we need to do is we need to get the squad that we have. We need to get them back on the same page again. We need to make sure that, because they are stars, they were champions a year ago, they're not that bad. The fact of the matter is the situation has gotten the best of them. They'll have a point to prove, and him as a manager came in, made sure that the point was proven, got us to actually match our 13 winning streak, got us the most wins in a season, 30 wins in a season. These are not light things. And we beat most of the clubs quite well, actually. And the fact of the matter is, yes, we didn't have Champions League football, but we walked the title. Now, in my eyes, as a football manager, when I'm coming into the situation and I'm being told to stabilize, but I've overachieved, the one thing I expect is the board to back me in situations that are needed. I do think managers do a great job at actually identifying who they need and why they need them. He, I'm sure, has identified the players he needs and why he needs these players. The fact of the matter is, what we have to ask ourselves is, why has the board not pulled the trigger? Because 3 million for me is very stingy. Because Man City came in, regardless of how much they spent on wing backs, they were happy to pay that money. And you know what? I don't even think he's going to be their first team guy necessarily. Danilo's a great player, and he could have easily been our first team player. But the fact that we were resting our role and resting and saying, no, we don't really want to pay the 3 million because we don't see him at that value. Screw the value, because at the end of the day, the value isn't supposed to be determined sometimes only by that. It's also determined by the fact that of how much we need something. We needed a player like Danilo. It's very obvious for us to all see, because Azpilicueta isn't going to run towards the attacking part of the game, and he's not going to cross the ball in for someone to head it in.
Alexander at Juventus, he's very versatile. He can play left or right. He can play actually right back.
Yeah, and Danilo's the same thing. Danilo is playing left wing back for Man City right now, and that tells me something. It's a player that's versatile, that would have fit into our situation very well. 3 million is nothing to us as Chelsea, because what we get out of that is far more important to us. And I think the fact that we've been quite stingy about that situation says a lot. Romelu Lukaku, if he was our #1 target and the board wanted him so bad, I understand why the board didn't want to pay that 15 extra million to the agent. That's the one time I will back the board on this. And I will say, that's not right. You shouldn't have to necessarily pay that. But what I ask myself is this: before Man United came in and offered all of that stuff, all those luxuries to the agents, to Romelu Lukaku in that situation, what were we doing in securing that deal? Because if we wanted him, we could have had him before Man United actually made any sort of significant move for him. Man United only made that move when they didn't want to meet the valuation of Alvaro Morata. And that's when they went all in on Lukaku.
I also think it's to do with relationships between clubs, yeah? I think Manchester United's relationship with Everton is let's say it's a lot
in a better situation. And they
than
have,
our relationship to Everton, right? Because
yeah, I would agree with
there's
that
a
one.
lot of bad vibes about the Lukaku deal, and also the John Stones situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I also think that might be the case with Manchester United and Real Madrid. Hence the reason why me perhaps got
The De Gea.
with the
Yeah.
the hair situation, and I think that's probably why we got first dibs on Morata. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Like it just shows you something, doesn't it, Tony? Because more than anything, what it does show you is that if a board wants to get a job done and get players, they can get the job done and get the players.
yeah,
In terms of valuation and
sure,
negotiation skill, I think we are trying to do this whole. We're trying to not make certain mistakes. And I get that, and I understand that we're trying to be very calculated about how we spend. But what you can see is financial fair play doesn't really exist. Because as far as I'm concerned,
no,
I don't know what these other clubs are doing to handle their way around it. Because as far as I'm concerned, Chelsea has found a different workaround. These clubs have found, as far as I'm concerned, a whole other different workaround where they can spend a lot more crazy than us, like we used to, and we no longer do.
well, even with the realms of financial fair play, mate, we could still spend another 200+ million pounds and still be on the nose with regards to it, because all of our we've had more money than ever before just for winning the title last season with
Yeah.
television rights and everything else. And of course, we've got Champions League revenue coming in
Yeah.
next season, regardless. But there's three actually big sponsors, but they've all come to fruition at the same time.
Exactly.
Yokohama, the
And
Nike,
we've sold. And
you
we have sold players.
and we've sold. So you know, I don't want to go down the old Arsenal net one, but we are talking. If we was to sell Diego Costa for 40 million, we'd have spent nothing.
Literally, we would have actually made a profit. We would have made a profit in that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And I don't think it's to do with the stadium. And I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, the fact that we've got to go out now and maybe look at a loan, because originally it was going to be Roman Abramovich was going to fund it all, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
I happen to know that there's Chinese investors sniffing around Chelsea right now, and we've definitely entertained Chinese investors in the same light that Manchester City done a deal 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something on the horizon now, perhaps a bigger story brewing, or a definite one where, and this company's no mugs, by the way, this company that we've met up with, they've got £1 trillion worth of liquid assets, mate, and they've been buying up Deutsche Bank and Hilton hotels and all sorts. So you know, with they're no mugs sort of thing. So I don't think there's anything to do with that. I just think we're being very, I don't know, maybe just yes. I think you're right.
I do think that, yeah. But when you look at the situation, right, I think people are saying, "Oh, this Neymar deal is absolutely nuts. Why would anyone do that? Or why is Man City spending so much money on this and that?" Man City is doing whatever it needs in order to be in the position they need to be in. Because at the end of the day, at some point, that money, they will stop spending the money, because they will put themselves in a very good situation for them not to necessarily have to spend continuously money. The thing is, in order for us to get to that stage, we need to spend money, but we need to build actually in the right manner. I think what I will say is this: I do think there is a clash of maybe philosophy between the board and Conte, and this is where my belief lies. All right, Conte is known to prefer more experienced players. That's what Conte is known to prefer. I think our board are looking at this the long game, and that means they want to look for players that have potential, and the potential can be realized at Chelsea, which means you can go get them on the cheap and they can develop at your club. And then if you need to, maybe you can sell them later, but you can actually keep them at your club. But at the very end of the day, you're not having to go pay 70 million, 90 million, or this amount of million for certain players just because now they are a star. In fact, they want to identify these stars before they become stars and make sure they're at Chelsea first. And I think that's a great approach by the board, which I completely understand. But at some point, when you hire a manager, you've got to understand what this manager also brings to the table. The manager will have a preference, and if the manager doesn't align with your vision, then why hire this manager? Now, I'm not saying that the board is crazy for hiring Antonio Conte, because after all, last season he did well for us. What they should be considering, however, is the fact that maybe they need to find a balanced approach to the situation. So if you're going to go get a Ross Barkley, but then Antonio Conte go ask you for an experienced player, That's exactly what you do. Go get him the experienced player, but also go make sure that we get these talented youngsters that could be proven to be some great players for us in the future, or maybe even in the now. But make sure it aligns with what you're doing with your manager. I think it has to be a great communication between the board and the manager. I think Pep is having great communication at Man City with his board, because what he said is, get rid of the deadwood. These are not my players. These are the players I want. Go get me these players. And I think Man City have delivered.
I think what they've got is they've got a definite vision of where they want to be. They know how they want to play. They know the style. This is and they're prepared to accept anything to get it. Yeah. So if it means running at a loss on that or that player or that player or that player, it's got to be about the right players in the right positions playing the right way. To get that philosophy outwards and have Man City, because the bottom line is, when you think of Pep Guardiola and everyone else, you think of the Barcelona way, don't you? That sexy, that move without looking, that move. Have you ever seen what they do? Is they move, don't they? They pass, but they don't. They know the players are in strategic positions, so they know where they're going.
It's positional awareness to a great deal of extent. They will be. They are great at breaking teams down.
Very clever.
At pace. They play from the back. They play with intensity. They never let the other team literally try and play the ball.
No.
So they try and make sure they do certain things that unsettles the opposition very, very quickly. And Man City cannot even be very patient about how they do that. Take Brighton, for example, because Brighton were great at defending. It took them until the 70th minute to get a goal. That doesn't mean Man City never had any chances. Man City just had to play the patient game. And when they got their first chance on goal, 1-on-1 keeper and Aguero, bam, back of the net, they've scored. They're already winning the game. And then obviously, the thing that you've got to understand more than anything is, I think I'm tired of listening to the media, because I don't want to listen to the media. The media is not making sense to me at this moment in time. What does make sense to me is that as a board, it is starting to be a little bit of a certain pattern about what we're doing in the transfer window. That's what makes me more nervous. It's the fact that we're not getting deals across the line. With the season has started, we played our first game, and we have a squad of 14 senior players. That to me is alarming, because if we're loaning players out and selling players, why are we not signing players?
Okay, right. So, all right, United have got to win. Man City have got to win. Arsenal have got to win, and
Tottenham have got to win.
Tottenham got to win.
Yeah.
This start, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Let's not worry about it. Or 3 points behind already. Concerning that 4 are already 3 in front, or is it just ridiculous thinking like that at this stage?
It's ridiculous. It's the first game of the season. But the table's really not going to take to form until a few games in, and at this moment in time, you don't really know what's actually going to be happening. So, in my eyes, I don't really look at the table this early age of this or this early stage of the season, because it feels completely pointless. And I think for that reason, we should more than anything now be concentrating on getting the right players. I think if we don't make at least one signing during this week, I'd be shocked. I'd be like, what are we actually doing?
Is that now become of paramount importance? Do we, for example, let's just say, for example, we don't purchase any players now. That's it. That's done. That's our business. We bought our 4 in, including the keeper there, of course. And that's what we're going with, yeah? And we've got our players to come back and this, that, and the other. I mean, is that good enough? Or do you feel that no matter what, we still need 3 high quality? Because I think our 11's decent, really good. And there's 2 or 3 bench players there that I think are as good as the 11.
Yeah,
it's the ones around it, isn't it? That's what we're saying. It's the combination. It's the
so,
options.
for example, let's take examples.
Well, I mean, the reason why I'm asking the question, sorry to interrupt there, Mo, is the players that we're linked with at this moment in time. Can you? I mean, I'll throw some names out to you in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Do you want to make your point? Sorry, bud.
No. The point was very simple. The point for me would have been literally, even if our players do come back, the squad is still too thin to be competing on all fronts.
Okay.
And we're the other players that we're talking about, Kennedy's already going out on loan to Newcastle. It just needs to be announced. And Tomori is not really going to be a squad player. In reality, when you look at the play, he's just there to probably fill the quota for the homegrown players, and that's pretty much it. And Christensen needs time to adapt to the situation, but I don't think he's necessarily the first choice. I think we're going to wait and see with him. Although he put in quite a decent and disciplined performance, and I can see where his intelligence and growth and maturity has come from. What you look at in our squad right now is the fact that we lack depth. I think one of the biggest things you need in any squad is that if you have an 11, you want to make sure at all times that the people that you have to replace them, whether there's an injury or whether you're stuck or whether the players are tired, you always have other players that can come in and do a good shift. The thing is, we can't really say that at this moment in time. For example, now Bakayoko is injured and is still recovering. Fabregas is now suspended. We have N'Golo Kante. We have and we know Cahill's suspended as well. But the defense is not really as much of an issue because we do have a backup.
No, I don't. I see. This is the funny thing. Someone said, "Oh God, but without Cahill, Spurs, right, and all that."
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on about Spurs in a second. In fact, let's go straight into Spurs, and I'll come back to the players, and I'll throw a few names at you.
Yeah.
And you tell me where it's going to happen. I mean, let's look at Spurs. Spurs next week. It's a tough game. It's the enemy. We know we're playing them on their own park, well, Wembley, and it's going to be a tough one, real tough one, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going out. We're going there with no Eden Hazard, no Gary Cahill, but for me, the biggest one is no Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of game where we need him. We need him. Really do need him. What's your feelings about all that, mate? I mean, I don't think Gary Cahill's. I don't think it's that significant because we have got options at the back there. We can play a number of. We really could play in that for there's all sorts. You know what I mean? Personally, I would have always kept Zuma at home. I feel that was.
I would have preferred to because I think Kurt Zuma is a player that, and
he can play positions.
Defender, before that injury, Kurt Zuma was pretty much destined to become a starter at Chelsea because he was starting to put in a very good shift. He was starting to become very consistent. He was getting more confident. He was putting tackles in. He was an aerial threat. He was starting to look like a real Chelsea player. And you thought, mate, this guy has got it. And then the injury, unfortunately, came at a very bad time. And it seems to have stagnated a little bit of his career at the moment. So the Stoke loan move, I think, is to try and get him back to a stage where he's playing consistently. And then we get him back and we can use him. Actually, nothing even stops us from getting him back in January like we did with Nathan Ake. So for me, it's not necessarily the worst case scenario. What I will say, though, is I definitely agree with you. Not having Cesc Fabregas for the Spurs game is going to be quite difficult. At the same time...
Who's going to play there? Who's going to play there? I mean, for me, it was a game for Nemanja Matic.
And I don't see anything wrong with putting David Luiz there at this point because I don't think he would do a terrible job there.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, David Luiz.
Because we'd have Victor Moses. That was one thing.
Yeah.
We'd have Victor Moses back. Victor Moses goes on the side. Asla Baqueta, Christensen, and Rudiger. You have Alonso on the other side. You then have David Luiz pretty much protecting the situation. N'Golo Kante does his box-to-box work. I believe Pedro should be able to get back for the Spurs game. I'm hoping he does, actually. And if not, you still have Charlie Masonda or Jeremy Boga to start.
Love Masonda.
And definitely you start Morata up. I think we have a great chance of, at the very least, getting a draw, if anything, out of that. But I do actually think we're capable of getting a win because having watched Spurs today, they don't look like the way they did when they finished last season. And for me, that gives me a bit of confidence. I do think they still have dangerous players, so you still want to be closing players like Christian Eriksen down, and you want to make sure that those types of players don't get too much space. But other than that, I definitely think we still have a great shot at going to Wembley and actually getting a result against Spurs. The biggest problem is we can't continue in this manner like this because, for example, what happens if David Luiz gets injured during the week? God forbid. What happens if something like that happens? What happens if N'Golo Kante can't make it to the game? Suddenly, we are in a very crappy situation real quick. And for that reason, we just need to make sure we sign the players and we get them across the line and we have something available for the Spurs game if necessary. If not, we can still go with that. But by the game after that, which I believe is against Everton, and we want to make sure we have these signings done and like dusted, because I don't want to be waiting till deadline day about whether we have signed someone or not. I want to make sure within the next 2 weeks we sign the people we need to be signing.
Okay, I feel a lot better about it now, mate. And of course, I forgot about that situation, because I actually loved him in that position.
I think you do a great job.
Well, I remember actually calling for Luis to play in that position, and then all of a sudden, as we all know, the Spanish waiter,
yeah,
Rafa Benitez played Luis in that position, and of course, I remember Luis in that position under Mourinho with a 1-0 night match away at Man City. Superb that night, superb.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem in that game would be we're not really going to be playing possession football. I think we're going to have to play counter-attacking in that situation even more so, because without Fabregas, I think that's the element that we struggle with the most. It's a possession game that we struggle with the most, and I think that's something we need to rectify as soon as possible. That if Fabregas is not available, we need to get our players comfortable with keeping possession. We need to get them comfortable with being able to control the game, dictate the tempo, and stuff like that. I think is stuff that we rely far too heavily on Fabregas for. And again, the board and Tony Conte, I'm pretty sure have identified this, and we need to get the right players in, because at the end of the day, we can't be saying as soon as we lose Fabregas, oh my God, all hell is broke loose. We don't have Fabregas. What do we do again? I don't want to be having those excuses. All I just want to say is, oh great, this person can step up. That's fine.
So Fabregas is a 1 match then, isn't it? And
yeah,
and obviously Gary Cale's 3. Am I right in saying it?
I believe so. I believe so. That's what I'm hearing. I haven't double-checked that information just yet.
Talking of Spurs and all that, when I met up with Claude after the Community Shield, one of the things he said to me is, "Did you not notice how the pitch at Wembley is narrowed?"
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether Spurs have put that in motion, you know, for this season or whatever, you know. They sort of narrowed it in, you know.
It's I guess that's something that it's usually in favor of Spurs, because White Hart Lane was basically like that, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah. Maybe, you know, they were getting pinged, weren't they, in the European games, weren't they? Because it was a much wider pitch, isn't it? You know,
it was too wide, and they just they weren't compact enough. They weren't tight enough. They weren't the Spurs that the league kept on seeing. So it just kept on backfiring on them. But what it now tells you is that we need to make sure that in that type of game, we go to there and we make sure we play our game and we don't concentrate on what they're doing, and we get the result that we need to, however we need to get it.
Okay, let's talk some players then, shall we?
Let's do it. I'm ready for this part.
Players in, yeah, because
there's a lot of questions on the chat, so we've had a lot of stuff on the chat.
Yeah, we've obviously just the two of us today. We've gone through, covered the game and all that, and it's really nice to see some names from the past out there, and it's just really nice, you know, and that's what it's all about. Chelsea SW6 back in the game. We've got a lot of plans, haven't we, Mo?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of plans this year. We've got a lot of people. I don't know if you guys out there on the Facebook group now, but we've got Paul Cannaville now, ex-Chelsea pro, first black player ever to play for Chelsea, and he wrote an incredible book called Black and Blue. If you anyone want to see, or there's a video actually on YouTube about his life, really incredible. What's an incredible story, you know what I mean? And he's an ambassador for the club now. He does a lot of charity work, and he's really part of Chelsea SW6. And what we try to do is try and change the image a little bit, haven't we, Mo? Yeah. You know, we've almost gone backwards to go forwards, if you like, guys. It's a bit of a painful time, but I knew it had to be done, and we got rid of you know, because we wanted the image to be right, really right about Chelsea SW6. And one of the things, especially for myself, I've been going to football for well over 3 decades, and going to away games, it's really important. You know, you bump into people, you don't want to be a fucking. You want people to think, yeah, you know, you're all right, or you do something that's half decent, you know, and you reflect Chelsea in a decent way. And I didn't want Chelsea SW6 to be a pantomime stroke, cringy type. You know where I'm coming from, didn't you, Mo?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
definitely. What we're trying to do is we're trying to put the things right in place, so we can put out some really decent content, haven't we, mate? And
yeah,
and we invested in. I've got my old. I'll show you this, guys. Got my old big brother tool. Look, there, look, watching you now. Look at that. Look. And of course, it's got the old extension, as everyone can do with extension. Yeah, so we're rocking and rolling, aren't we, mate? And so it's really great to, you know. So listen, guys, we really want to make this happen. The Facebook group is nearly 81,000. And that's one of the things we did, didn't we, Mo? We decided what we're going to do is get the image right, really work on that, get some cracking people around us, some fantastic people, some solid people, you know, like people like Norman, who's been a supporter of Chelsea for 60 years, man. You know, really quality individuals like CFC, Francis Stevie Stanley, people like that, and just proper Chelsea people, you know, and just try and make it something to be really proud of. And we worked a lot on the image there, haven't we? And we put a lot of time, a lot of effort in.
100%.
I think we're really making it. We're really making it happen, you know. And now it's all about the channel now, so we really need you guys to support us. You learn lessons all the way, don't you, Mo? Because you know, even the intros, it's a bit long tone. Okay, fair enough. What do I know about editing? But do you know what? I've had to learn, and I've learned the hard way. Do you know what I mean? But bit by bit, you get better, and I'm just so grateful for people hanging in there with us. You know, it's really good. Yeah. Okay, right. I'll tell you what. We'll answer some questions, but I'll just hit you with some names, Mo, quickly. Yeah. Do you think we'll do this, Alexandro? We bumped into some Juventus fans, didn't we, on the train?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
And we had a good old chat with them, and we talked about Bonucci, weren't we?
Yeah.
And Alexandro, and he said hands off, didn't he? He said hands off.
Hands off type of situation. Yep.
yeah. He said you need
even for 70 mil, he was like, nah.
Yeah.
He's like, he's not going anywhere.
But a rather interesting one about that one, mate, which gives me a little bit of hope, is the fact that he's not signed a new contract with Juve. He's refusing to, and he definitely likes the idea of coming to London. And of course, got the Brazilian, you know, angle there, you know, and everything else.
Yeah,
we're all about Brazilians, and I think that might be a lastminute.com one. That one could go.
If that happens, oh my God, Tony, I'd lose it, because that is he's one of the best left backs in the world, and that would be a big boost to Chelsea, because to get a player of that caliber, I think it's a player that a lot of the top clubs have either looked at or wanted at some point, and actually will look at in some point in the future, because it's one of those players you want to secure as soon as possible. But there's a reason why Juventus, also Juve, don't want to let him go. So we need to pay whatever is possible to get the player, especially with him not signing a contract. That does raise up our hopes. And if we do get him, I do think, at least for the next 5 years, you have definitely sorted out that left back situation and left wing back situation, because he's a great talent.
Well, to be fair, we've never really solved that since Ashley Cole, have we? I mean, we did have the right. We had
yeah, that's Beloqueta there at one point.
That wasn't right, mate. That wasn't right, was it? That was the Mourinho idea.
Defensively, he was solid defensively, but going forward, he didn't really offer us as much. Then you obviously had the whole Baba Rahman situation, which let's not even go there. And then you have Alonso, who I'll be very honest, he did surprise us last year. He came in and he put in a solid shift, and he's proven himself to be a very good player. But I do think that defensively, in games where we don't have much of the ball and that we're under intense pressure, he struggles. We did have Felipe Luis. Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for that reminder. And it's situations like that that pretty much tell you exactly why you need to pretty much do something. Because at the end of the day, when you sort out situations like that and pay whatever you need to get the right player, it's a situation you don't have to worry about. I mean, since we got Hazard, when is it that we've been speaking about having a player on his side? We don't, because we say Eden Hazard's got that place. He's guaranteed a first-team football. As long as we have him, we don't have to worry. And we want to make sure that we can stay that 11 players that we can get on the pitch. And if we have more in-depth and people on the bench, even better.
Okay, so we both want him. Now the question is, do we think it's going to happen? Yes or no?
Oh man, I don't want to be optimistic for no reason. So at this moment, I'm going to be pessimistic, and I want to be so proven wrong. So I'm going to say no. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, well, I'm going to go yes, and I'll tell you for why. Not because my glass is always half full, not half empty. But I actually think it's a deal that we've been linked with all summer. I know there's all no smoke about fire. It's a player we definitely want. And it's a player that we're actually playing the game on. Because I do even think at this stage, if we were to go to Juventus and go, 70 million all in, right?
Yeah.
I think they still say no, right? But I think it's one of them where it's going to go to the, the last throws of the dice, one of them ones. And in the end, they go, do you know what? Take it or leave it. Do you know what I mean? One of them ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think similar game to what I think Daniel Levy's going to do with Ross Barkley, which is going to be our next one. But so I think yes. So let's go to the next one then, and let's go Ross Barkley.
So there was, I believe it was William that's been asking us questions about what do we think of Ross Barkley. So before I answer this question, I'm going to answer his question directly now and say, I think Ross Barkley has got quite a bit of talent in him. I think we haven't seen a manager come in at Everton and actually take advantage of that. So for me, I feel like under Antonio Conte, or even if he ends up at Spurs with Mauricio Pochettino, sorry, and he's gonna do well. He's gonna do well. I genuinely feel like he needs a manager that instills confidence in him. He needs a manager that instills a lot of belief in him. And I think he would actually be one of the breakout stars because he has got a lot of talent. There is a lot of potential there. So I do rate him quite highly. And honestly speaking, I don't know how hard we're trying on this one. And so for that reason, I'm again going to be quite pessimistic. I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like Spurs are more than likely going to get him because I don't see how hard we're trying with this one.
I think out of the two clubs that are in for him, at the moment it's reported that it is Tottenham and it is Chelsea. I think he's more likely to want to go and play for Chelsea. And that's not just I just think that's the case.
Yeah.
There was a comment about Danny Rose, wasn't there, about in the semi-final when they played us. I think it was you telling me this, Mo. And he looked over, he was on the bench or something, and he looked over.
Oh, Danny Rose, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he saw Cesc Fabregas, Diego Costa, and Eden Hazard, right? What am I right saying? Yeah. And he said, wow, look at that, that's the bench, and everything else. So, and we've all heard of his comments this week. I personally think it's a player that we could get, but I think we'd have to really up the ante with regards to the money. As I think Everton, the club, they've just got issues with us, haven't they? And I think if we're going to do it, we're going to have to pay big time for him. And for that reason, I'm going to say no. I don't think it'll happen. So.
Yeah, it's Everton, isn't it? So
yes, and I think that's the stumbling block for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just seems to be that way, Okay, Roberto. Well, I don't really know too much about this guy. He's Barcelona.
Sergio Roberto. Yep.
Yeah, Sergio Roberto. Another defender.
And so
he can play as well.
He's actually originally a defensive midfielder. Very good player, very good on the ball, very quick and comfortable on the ball, very creative. And he's a player that I honestly, like from the moment I've had this, I've wanted him since. And I think if we got him, I've honestly wanted him. He's a player that I wouldn't even hesitate. 40 million to me, here you go, thank you very much, let's take him. Because he's a player that is very comfortable on the ball. He's, like you already said, very versatile. He can play at right back. And last year, he was filling right back for Barcelona and did a fantastic job there, actually. In fact, they had two other right backs and preferred to play Sergio Roberto instead. And that tells you quite a lot about the situation.
Yeah, he played 90 games for Barcelona in 2 seasons. That's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games. And it tells you a lot about if Barcelona are willing to do that with him. I do think that he's got the quality to come at Chelsea and definitely fight for a first team spot, and actually even probably maintain it, if I'm honest, because I think he's very good with the ball. Honestly speaking, I think he's a wonderful talent, and I think if people haven't done so yet, go on YouTube, type in his name, and just watch some of his highlights. He's a great player, in my opinion.
Okay, so do we see that one happening, mate?
And I'm gonna say yes, only for one reason.
Okay.
The only reason I'm going to say yes on this one is because I'm hopeful and I want to be very optimistic about this one. I would love to see this one happen. But also, I just genuinely feel like Barcelona are looking for any amount of money they can get because they really want to make a big statement. By losing Neymar, I feel like they're not going to try and just sign Coutinho. I think they're going to try and sign Dembele. which basically means they're going to try and definitely raise the money for that situation. So 40 million for me is a flipping steal, and I would definitely have him already in the team. I wouldn't even be questioning the situation. What about you?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go with you on this one, mate. I think it's going to happen too, and I'll tell you for why. Because again, we have a relationship with Barcelona, which is decent, and I feel it's a sort of valuation that we kind of like as a club. That 40 million, you know, that 36, 40 million.
Yeah,
we kind of like that sort of valuation, don't we? Lots
it's
of
our favorite
quality players, not mega, but quality. You know, next stage down type player.
I would agree.
You know, lots of quality, and for that reason, I'm going to say, I don't know where that come from there. I'm going to say yes, mate. I think that one we may do. We may do, mate.
Cool. What's the next one?
So, okay, mate. The next one is Afsal's mate, Mr. Oxlade-Chamberlain. What do you think?
Oh, mate, it's Arsenal, and I would love for this deal to happen. I get the feeling that, again, that Arsenal are going to play hardball in this. If they're trying to keep Sanchez, even though they're getting money offered and everything, I think they're going to try and keep Chamberlain as well, and they're going to try and offer him quite a lot of money to make him stay. And for that reason, I don't think it's going to happen. I would love to see it happen, but I feel quite pessimistic about this one, so I would say no.
Sorry, a little drink there.
No worries.
Okay. Now, this is a player that Antonio Conte really admires. He's bigging him up, and he's bigging him up for a reason, yeah? It's also, I believe, I could see Oxlade-Chamberlain wanting to do the move, okay, because he's ambitious, and on the recent stream with the Arsenal boys, they're all saying that he would get in the Chelsea first team. Now, is he better than Victor Moses? It's one of those, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Would he get games? Would he be a bench player? Would he be an afterthought? You know, because he doesn't get to play in his rightful position for Arsenal. So all the ingredients are right. Okay. However, it's Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I can't see Arsenal selling him at no frigging price. And that goes for Alexis Sanchez too.
Yeah.
If we was to offer 80, 90, 100, 120, 140 million, well, it might buckle then. But as a general rule, I can't see Arsenal dealing with us.
No.
You know, I think that better check one was, well, I thought it was a freak one, that one, because we'd done the right thing by check with a little bit of respect for the player. I never thought we'd do it again with Mata and bloody
Matic,
albeit another club, United, you know, but you get the picture.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I can't see Arsenal doing the deal. So I'm going to say, would I like him? Yes. I'd like Sandro too. I'd like Barkley. I'd like all these players that we're linked with. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. I mean, you, buddy.
Yeah. Definitely no as well. I'm with you on that one.
Okay. Okay, the next one then is Van Dijk. Van Dijk. Obviously a player that's put in a transfer request and is expecting to move. You see that Ross Barkley one, going back to Ross Barkley, what's pretty evident is he has to move.
Yeah.
Because he's come out with too much now and the Evertonians don't want him.
Yeah.
He will end up somewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe if Spurs, because I reckon Spurs are that last minute one, they'll put a last minute one in, a cheeky one with Everton, you know, that last minute one, and hope that we're not in the game. But maybe Chelsea are looking at that thinking, do you know what, we could pull that off.
Yeah.
All we've got to do is go toe to toe with Spurs here. Because he's got to go, that kid, now, you know what I mean? So it might happen for those reasons, guys, you know what I mean? But so Van Dijk, bud. Van Dijk, what do you think?
And Van Dijk, and I think he's a great player. And I think Liverpool tapping him up makes me think he's more likely to go to Liverpool than he is to Chelsea. And I don't know how much of a conversation Chelsea have had with him or how much Chelsea have pushed for that move. And could we cause an upset and get him? Potentially.
Do we need him?
I don't think so. I don't know why I keep thinking that, but I don't think that we do. I feel like there's other places I'd rather strengthen and spend that kind of money on. So for that reason, for me, I don't see this deal happening. I feel like Liverpool have already promised him a lot more, not in terms of money, but I think they've just promised him something that's enabled him to say that he's more likely to go there than he is to go anywhere else. And for that reason, I think as soon as he's put on the market and he's definitely for sale, I can see him wearing a Liverpool shirt and he'll end up at Liverpool. So for that reason, I don't think we're going to end up with him.
Well, I think this is a player we can definitely get. Okay, all we've got to do is put a name to it. That's the truth. Because, again, back to the relationships between clubs when you're buying and selling, I believe that Southampton have a bit of an issue with Liverpool right now, and they're quite reluctant to sell another one of their players to Liverpool. So for that reason, I feel that we could get involved. There's something about me here that tells me Jose Mourinho is going to sniff this one.
Whew.
I do.
I don't think he will. That's the only part I'm quite confident on.
See, he's a quality player, mate. He's a quality player. I'll tell you now, Arsenal could do worse than get him. Because they do need a centre back, and I do think that would be a terrific bit of business for them. You know, if they went. So equally, I think it'd be good for us too. The thing is, does it better our centre offs at this moment in time? Is it a better combination? Does it better us?
I feel like it would. I'm not going to lie to you and say that no, he wouldn't. I think we're not as desperate to get a centre back at this point. I would prioritize other positions for that reason. But would he better us? I think so, because I think he's a big aerial threat. I think he's very confident on the ball. I think he's got a hiding place. He's got a lot of strength. He's very good at reading situations. But to be very honest with you, 50 million is quite a lot of money. And I think the reason why he's at that valuation has a lot more to do with the contract he signed than actually his talent. And for that reason, I do think he can improve us. But I don't know if he's worth 50 million to me. And I don't think they're going to even necessarily sell at 50 million. I think that's a last resort for them, if anything. But that's quite a lot of money for a player that hasn't really shown me completely yet why he's worth that money. But I do think that he's a player that wherever he ends up, he's going to strengthen whichever team he pretty much plays at. I just do not think 50 million is worth it for me. And being frankly honest, I want more wing backs than I do centre back. I want a central midfielder more than I do a defender.
Versatility is the ultimate thing, isn't it, right? We've already mentioned David Luiz can play a holding midfield role. We know that certain players, we know that Cesar can play left or right. He can go into the midfield. He can do various jobs. But when he was on the left-hand side of defence and we had Ivanovic on the right-hand side, we knew we had a centre, no offence, but and I'm not having a go at Jose here, but we had a centre-back plan on the right, we had a left-back plan on the right-back plan on the left, yeah? So, but we also know, right, okay, that he was much more comfortable and much more better in the role that he's naturally, you know, versed to playing, right, okay? So for that reason, right, okay, you've got to look, it's not about square pegs and round holes, you know what I mean? It's about getting the right balance. Now, do you think, and this is just a little one I'm chucking out there, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Gary Cahill, for example, would you have made him captain? Because when I look at that whole back line, and I look at the players that are available, for me, I'd look at someone that's going to be the future, 2-3 years down the road, right?
Okay,
Someone that's going to be ever present. Now, someone said to me, well, hang on a minute, John Terry was captain last year, and yet Gary Cahill was captain for most, if not all of the games. And they're absolutely right. But do you see where I'm going with this, right? Okay, because it all of a sudden becomes very uncomfortable. Why would you buy Van Dijk? Well, surely we've got suitable cover. We've got Christian. We've got Zuma out on loan. We can call him back after 6 months. We've got Louise. We've got quite a bit of talent here, bud. Yeah. But is Van Dijk not? When you buy a player, and let's be honest, we bought 3. Forget the goalkeeper, because that was even the goalkeeper. Because to me, the goalkeeper we brought in is better than Begovic. So if you were replacing the players in those positions with something that's better, to me, that makes complete and utter sense. I don't want to just buy players to sit there and because they're worse than what's there. I want equal quality, or if we're going to buy someone to replace someone, let's make sure they're better. You see where I'm going with this, right? Back to Van Dijk. Is he not better than what we've got?
And it's a very hard question to answer, because I think
it's a good one, isn't it? That's why I ask the questions.
He offers a different type of advantage in a defense. I think what he does do very well is, I think if you had two-man defense, center back, sorry, I think he would fit in very well in that scenario. I think when you have three at the back, it kind of defeats the situation. So he would give us an option of playing four at the back instead of five at the back. And for me, for that reason, you could say that if we did have this 50 million, which I think we do, I think it'd be very solid and he would actually work out well for us because he just gives us more options. And you're right, Gary Cahill isn't getting any younger. David Luiz isn't getting any younger. So for that reason, again, it's a situation that is very smart when you look at the long-term sort of things.
But would you not have made Luiz captain, right?
I would have made David Luiz captain. I would have, because I think he has more of the character that I look for in a captain. Because when you're on the pitch, like today, actually, for example, when we faced Burnley, David Luiz was killing himself out there. I mean, at the end of the game, he was laying on the pitch, literally giving it his all. He was totally exhausted, and the fans were clapping him because they knew and they could see that he put in a shift. He tried his very best. The thing is, what you want is, if you want to have a captain, you want a captain to be someone who's very solid, very comfortable, very composed in situation, someone that possesses leadership quality, that does it in a manner that is so just very calm. I think that's the best way I want someone that is calm. And I think Van Dijk offers that calmness, but then I don't see the character in him. And for me, that's the biggest thing, that I like players to have character. And Chelsea, for me, when you don't have character, it tends to be something that causes us to have a weakness, because when we're in bad predicaments or bad situations, you want these players' characters to kick into gear, and suddenly that's what pushes you onto the next level, and you suddenly can get back into games that you're not supposed to. And I don't know whether Van Dijk has got that, but I do think Van Dijk does offer something long-term. I do think he would improve under Antonio Conte. If we have the 50 million, it's not a bad 50 million to spend. I do think he would improve us.
Absolutely. Okay. Can you see it happening?
I genuinely don't think it's going to happen. I want to, like, I really, really want to. But again, it's one of those situations I don't want to actually put my hopes up. But I'm going to try and say this. Because of what you said, that's kind of slightly made me change my mind. Southampton not being happy with Liverpool might just give us an edge in getting this deal done. And I think he will go. He's not going to play another game for Southampton. That is, for me, 100% confirmed. I think that might give us a slight advantage, and we may just be able to get him. So I'm going to say yes, just based on that edge of Southampton maybe doing us a favour.
Okay. Fernando Llorente.
And that's gone really quiet. So I'm going to say no on this one. That's gone quiet. Like, we've heard nothing.
You wouldn't go for him?
I would want to.
I mean, and Antonio Conte is a massive fan. He loves him, doesn't he?
Yeah. And like you saw at Swansea last year, where he was a massive fan. The guy's hold-up play is fantastic. The guy gives us a different dynamic to play. And as soon as the ball to feet doesn't work, or we need someone to actually hold up to play, or just be a target man, or be an aerial threat, he's someone that is quite a handful. And he's also on the experienced side, which means that that's exactly what Antonio Conte is looking for. So he would give us advantages in many different cases or scenarios. He could play two at the front with Morata or Batshuayi, and he would complement anyone he plays with there quite well. And I just don't think we're going to pay that much for this player. The price being quoted for me is definitely too much for him. If it's more than 10 million, it's not happening.
So you don't see it happening?
I don't see it happening. I don't think we're going to be playing. Well, you think about it. If we're being very stingy about 3 million for Danilo, who we needed far more badly, I don't think we're going to be necessarily paying 20 or 35 million, which is what's being quoted.
Okay. Danny Drinkwater.
Oh God, please no. You know my situation on this one. I can't even take this one seriously. I'm going to say no for my own behalf. I don't want it to happen. I do think it will happen. That's what I'm starting to think. And this is where it hurts a little bit, because, again...
Right, well, the Express have gone out with a story. And if you Google search Chelsea transfer news or anything like that, the biggest story at the top comes up. It's Express here. Chelsea grant Antonio Conte his transfer wish. £130 million spree will commence to appease boss. And it says that there's 3 players that we will definitely sign. and it says one is Danny Drinkwater, two is Van Dijk, and three is Oxlade-Chamberlain. And it says here that the situation is very clear. We are trying to improve the situation for me and my players. The best way now to keep focus on the pitch. Blah 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 blah. But it says within the next 24 hours, we're talking 30 million quid for. Oh, and also Valencia fullback João, is it Cancelo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, 25 to 30 million Danny Drinkwater. Oxlade-Chamberlain, slightly higher, 30, 35. Although I think there was a valuation of about 25 million from Arsenal because of his contract, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously this fullback for Valencia, and of course Virgil van Dijk. So and we reckon 50 million for him. So there you go. So Danny Drinkwater, you don't fancy that at all, but you do think it's going to happen, yeah? Well, you know my opinion on it. I've got a little bit of a difference of opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's a sensible, really sensible, solid move. That is because they've got a relationship together, him and N'Golo Kante. N'Golo Kante had for Leicester City when they won the title, and he's solid. And I'm not saying he's going to play every game, but he will be there. In the same reference as Nemanja Matic was going to be there. There's a lot of Chelsea fans got all mixed up when we sold Man United. Yes, it was stupid because they want to assist another club of the same magnitudes and of the same expectations of wanting to win the title. It certainly don't strengthen you. You know, your nearest rivals for what you want, yeah?
Yeah.
But by the same token, Nemanja Matic was always surplus to requirements because you bought in Bakayoko. So, you know, if he was Nemanja Matic, why would you want to stay? He was first choice last season. You're no longer first choice. You're way down, actually, because you still got Cess in there as well, haven't you? And, you know, for the games where you don't need that little bit of extra protection or cover. I know Cess can do other jobs. We know that. But you know where I'm coming from, yeah?
Yeah.
Danny Drinkwater, it's that little bit of... Listen, he's proven. You know, he's done a job. He's English. It's that English quota thing too. But it's sensible, mate. And I think we'll get him for a decent price. And he's solid, you know. He'll do a solid job for us.
He's a squad player.
I think it's sensible.
For me,
that's right.
He's a squad player. But that's, for me, is exactly why I don't want him. I don't want a squad player. I want a player that scares the hell out of Fabregas,
but we've already got
out of N'Golo Kante. And I want a player that competes for first team football. I don't want a player that's going to be happy to be sat on the bench. And that, for me, is where my harshness comes from, is the fact that I don't want the player to be comfortable on the bench. I want a player to say, no, I'm hungry. I don't want to be on the bench. I want to be part of this first team football. Danny Drinkwater doesn't scream out first team football to me. Danny Drinkwater sounds like a bench warmer to me at this point. And it sounds quite harsh. I know he's a champion. I know he's got this comfortability with N'Golo Kante, but it's just the fact that we should be buying first class players. And the fact of the matter is, as soon as you go to a team like Leicester to go say, I want Danny Drinkwater, I just look at it and I think it screams out desperation on our part. It doesn't scream out as like that's our first choice. If he was our first choice, Tony, do you not think we would have signed him before our preseason? He's not our first choice. And that, for me, is when I'm upset, because why are we going for people like this?
According to a lot of sources, they're saying, and you know this, that I've said, because I've said this to you before, but when we were trying to get N'Golo Kante at the start of last season, we were trying to buy the pair. We were actually trying to buy the pair. But the point of, in the end, Leicester was like, well, hang on a minute. Whoa, you're not taking, but you know what I mean? One of them. So we dropped out in the Drinkwater to make sure the Kante deal was secure.
Yeah.
But we were always in for Drinkwater, apparently. That was part of the deal, you know.
Mate, it still doesn't change my mind that much, honestly speaking.
Well, there you go. I'm just trying to think of any other players that are linked with us right now. Can you think of any others, mate, that I haven't mentioned? Anyone out there, guys?
And I think we've been linked.
If you've got a couple.
Yeah. There's been a few different players. So Sanchez was one that we were linked with. I would have loved that player because then again, that's a player that is future-wise, a player that you can work with, a player that you are looking at the potential and thinking definitely he's going to break into this team. He's going to have a lot of potential, and he's someone that you want to build on. And he's a player that I would have loved to have. I would have loved to have him at our squad, but I think Bayern obviously saying that they're definitely not on the verge of selling him. That's probably what breaks the deal for us. But there is actually a player. I'm glad that it's all Chelsea FC has actually just pointed out. Serge Aurier, a right back. He's from Ivory Coast, like Didier Drogba. He's plays for PSG. He's currently on a court. He's under in a court case at the moment. So one of the reasons why he hasn't been able to seal a deal, because PSG are trying to sell him, is the fact that until he's sorts this out, he's not actually allowed entering the UK. Man United have been known to be interested in him. He's a good player. Serge Aurier is someone that I would definitely love to have signed, and more than Gonzalo actually, Joao Gonzalo that you were telling me about earlier on. I would love Serge Aurier far more because I think he's far more physical, which means he's more prepared for this league. I think he's just a tad quicker, and I do feel like he's because he's played with PSG and what we're playing currently, it's more of a similar style, and he's not going to come to the league and be completely just thinking, what the hell, this pace is too much, I can't handle type of this thing. I feel like he's be more likely to be able to actually adapt to our system and get first team football at our club. So for that reason, Serge Aurier is someone I would say is someone who's a very good player. Have you heard much about him actually, Tony?
No, I've got to tell you, I haven't. No. In fact, I was just googling him, just there, like, you know.
Yeah.
Another thing that's come out today, and it's everywhere, so there's got to be a lot of truth in this. Cesar Azpilicueta has questioned Chelsea's summer activity as well. Cesar Azpilicueta. He's admitted that the champions are not the same force that they were.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously, it goes on to say, basically that when you see the players that we've lost and the players that we've signed, they are not the same. The defender is quoted by the Mirror in the aftermath of defeat. See, I disagree with that. You see, I think the three players that we bought are better. Look, okay, we've lost a massive mouthpiece or piece of quality in the dressing room in John Terry, yeah? We know that,
yeah?
Mr. Chelsea, come on, you know, that spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to replace. You can't replace that, yeah? You know, we lost that when we lost Didier, didn't we? And you remember the second season after winning the title, yeah?
Yeah.
We lost Didier from that scenario too. But in terms of players, Diego Costa, Morata, similar kind of level, but not to that next one down. Don't you think? Don't you think? I think so. And I think Bakayoko. You talk about Danny Drinkwater and everything else. Well, he's going to be on the bench because if you was to write out a Chelsea 11, if everyone was fully fit right now, Bakayoko would be playing there, mate.
Yeah,
alongside N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree with that statement. I think what Asby's trying to say is what a lot of us have been saying. It's not that the people we've signed are poor quality. It's the fact that in terms of depth, we have definitely lost quite a bit of depth here. And if we can't say that, then we're being quite delusional about the situation and not admitting what's actually quite in front of us. Is that the squad isn't as strong in terms of actually as strong as it could be based on the players we have been linked with, based on the potential players that have been available this summer, and based on the players that we should be going afterwards. But the thing is, we haven't been. We've been very calculated about decisions. We've been very cautious. We've been almost quite fearful in the transfer market. And for me, the fact that we've gotten 4 players, one of them for free, so 3 that we actually paid for, it's quite concerning because you always start thinking that moment is
still 130 million pounds, mate. You know what I mean?
The money spent is not the issue. It's the fact that you just think, okay, and when we were loaning these players out, so we sold Chalobah and Ruben Loftus-Cheek got loaned out, Kurt Zouma got loaned out, and we got rid of Matic now. Diego Costa is no longer coming back. You would think when a team makes those types of big decisions, with these big players, and Matic and Diego Costa are big players, part of our winning our champions last year. You would think, okay, cool, we're going to go get replacements and we're going to do it quickly. We were actually quite slow in getting Bakayoko as well as Morata confirmed. Now,
a good friend of mine, funny enough, sorry to interrupt you there, Mo.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, and I don't want to name names, I don't want to name drop, right, but he's quite a face, yeah? And he used to be on Chelsea TV back in the day and all that. But he knows a lot of the people to do with Monaco, you know, it's Monaco. And he said apparently the Monaco board won't, they said we're the worst club ever, apparently, to do business with. We're the worst club. We don't, you know, we literally, we're trying to squeeze this little thing out, or trying to get that little, you know, well, hang on, we'll give you a little extra this, or, well, hang on, no, we ain't paying that. We'll give you this. Would you take this? You know, we're a bit like that, and we drag things out.
Yeah.
It never used to be like that, of course. But and I also see on that Sunday supplement program that apparently we see it as a game of chess, that they rather like the transfer window.
Well, to be honest, like Tony, I think that's where I can see why the board start to think that, because let's be frankly honest, there was a point where Chelsea were just completely known to be a club that spends any money possible to get the players that we want.
So out of the water, wasn't
it? Yeah, we would go pick any team out of the water, and we would go and get any players that we wanted, pay any price, and those players it wasn't.
There's a lot of clubs with Abramoviches now. There's a lot of clubs now that are rich. I think I'm right in saying.
Which means these other.
I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, these clubs.
Well, I think. Well, I was just going to say, I think in the with Forbes, you know, the Forbes top 30 or whatever. I think the top 30. I think the whole of the English Premier League is in the top 30.
If I'm,
I think Stoke turned over more than Bayern or something.
Oh yeah,
something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, but in terms of ridiculous, like in terms of money that they gained from TV rights and all of these types of stuff. It's ridiculous. The thing is, the money aside, the biggest thing is we were known to be a club that is going to pay anything. Now, what's clearly happening now is the board have tried to smarten up over the years, and have tried to look at it very prospectively, that we are a club to not be messed with. We're not just going to get free money out of us. We're going to try and actually make sure we do certain things correctly. Now, with that being said, I think we have kind of maybe a little bit gone overboard with that situation, because if you want a player, you're going to have to actually get the money in place and go get these players. But if you want to get them for less, you need to go make sure that you identify them as early as possible and complete these days before any other team does. The thing is, as soon as another team is interested, 10, 15 million goes on the valuation of these players, because other clubs are interested. The bigger the club, the more valuation that goes on these players. Bakayoko had Manchester United interested in him by the time we were interested. And I think other clubs have scouted him. Monaco are not going to look at the situation and say, oh yeah, we're going to give it to you for 30 million. No, they're going to look at it and say, no, here's our valuation, meet our target. And it's like, Chelsea, do you want the player, yes or no? It's unreasonable if you get quoted a price like 80 million, or you have to pay the release clause. So, for example, Belotti, that plays for Torino, us not going for him makes sense to me, because I'm like, 90 million for a player who's scored a lot of goals in one season. I'm like, I'd rather not take that risk. I can see why the board want to be hesitant with that.
Aubameyang, 75 million, scored an incredible amount of goals in the Bundesliga.
He scored a hat-trick, and actually yesterday, I think.
I'm telling you, right, okay, well, he scored a mental amount of goals, didn't he? Something like 46 in 42 games or something ridiculous. But again, you know, where was he 2 years ago, 3 years ago? One of them, isn't it? So I suppose, you pay 75 million, because that's their valuation for him. Would you get rid of someone like Michy Batshuayi, for example, and then go to full whack, go, yeah, look, we'll take an Aubameyang, because we could get him at 75. If anyone bids 75 million right now for Aubameyang, you get him.
And I think because of the Dortmund have now closed the door on that situation, that's the only reason we wouldn't. If earlier on the
take 75 million, mate, for Aubameyang.
I feel like at some point they would have, yes, they would have, and I think we just didn't want we didn't want to pay extortionate amount of money. I think what does make it quite difficult, someone in the chat actually did say it, is agents being involved in situations has made football quite a more complicated situation, because the prices that we get quoted nowadays don't necessarily sometimes include agent fees. Sometimes they're that high because of agent fees, and it just makes it such a complicated thing to actually get done and through the dusted as quickly as possible.
Lukaku was a perfect example of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it made more money. It was more beneficial for Romelu Lukaku to go to Manchester United for his agent.
Yeah.
And all that bullshit they come out with when they join these clubs, you know, like, I've always wanted to play for this club, this greatest club. Shut up, you know. We've got the video, Romelu, of you staring, you know, romantically out at Stamford Bridge. We know you'll be wearing the pajamas like Wayne was for them.
Yep.
You know. You know.
No, it's one of those things where they say these types of things nowadays to win fans over. Because let's be frankly honest, all right? I love Morata and I like Morata, but Morata saying it's been his dream to play for Chelsea. I'm like, okay, I don't know how much I believe that situation, because I'm like, I haven't really seen you kind of say those types of things beforehand. And at one point, it almost looks for certain that you were happy to go sign for Man United. So it's...
Isn't it funny when you look at all the world stars on the world stage,
Yeah.
and you look back sort of 15 years or 10 years ago, and we were so close to nabbing all of them. I remember when we was really close to getting Neymar. We were tracking Neymar. We were the only club in for Neymar. This is before he even went to Barcelona, by the way. This was when he was in Brazil. You know, he was our... I remember David Silva. I remember Sergio Aguero. I remember, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange, isn't it? You know, when you look at it all in the way it is right now. So by the looks of it, mate.
Yeah.
Just doing the old summing up there. We mentioned about 8 or 9 players. We both think we're going to end up with Danny Drinkwater.
Yeah.
And we got a difference of opinion, although we both want the Virgil van Dijk situation.
Yeah.
And we have a split decision on Ross Barkley, but apart from that, fucking no one. Oh, Alex Sandros. I think it might be a last-minute one, but you think it's done.
Yeah, that one would be ideal. Serge Aurier, I think, would be a good one as well, because it looks like Man United have cooled their interest.
Well, Daniel Sheldrake out there, he brought up a brilliant one, and again, it just completes doesn't complete it, but it kind of makes up for all those players that we let go. Ryan Bertrand, you know, another one where we're kind of paying the price for.
That's completely died down, hasn't it? Though that's completely died down, because that was one that even Man City were interested in, and we've had diddly squad for a very long time now. For a number of weeks, we've heard nothing about this Ryan Bertrand deal, and I'm starting to think maybe it's because of the whole Van Dijk situation, which meant that Ryan Bertrand's situation has completely cooled down, or he's just actually not going anywhere, and none of the interest was actually that serious.
If we was to sign Van Dijk,
and
I'm just putting it out there, right, okay, and presumably if you're going to pay £50 million for a defender, we're talking Van Dijk here, right, okay, if we was to do that deal, by the looks of it, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right now, if you just Google search now, you'll see him pop up. So it's definitely a player we're in for. And if you ask most Liverpool fans, they all think we're going to end up with him anyway.
Because of the situation that's happened.
Yeah, they say, well done, Chelsea. You're going to get him, you know. They seriously want him, do you know what I mean? It'd be kind of nice to pull it off just to piss them off, I guess. But the point I'm making here, right, okay, so if we buy them, right, okay, then how do you shuffle that back line? Where's that back line going? In which case, is Gary Cahill then surplus to requirements?
Who knows? I mean, I'd like to think not.
Well, Rudiger plays centre back, yeah? Am I right in saying that? Yeah. That is his position, right? There's going to be one other threat. So we bought him to play him. We bought David Luiz to play him. I think we all agree David Luiz is quality.
Yeah.
So we've got David Luiz, we've got Rudiger, right? We bought Van Dijk. What happens then? Well, Cesar Azpilicueta, I suppose, can play in that line. Just saying.
I think it's a hard situation, because what it does is it starts to create the problem that you want the manager to have. Suddenly not knowing who to actually play, because you have so many potential players to actually play here. And it's not just potential players, it's players that actually have a lot of different talent, have different types of qualities that they offer, and offer different types of different sort of team balance. Because I think Antonio Conte, I think one of the things he needs flexibility in being able to play different formations. I think Van Dijk, for me, one of the best things about him would be that when you look at it long term, he'd be somebody that you'd want actually in the team right now. Because when you look at it long term, you can actually look at him and say, for the next 5 years, he's going to be the guy we rely on. He's going to be the face of the company. He's going to be known. We can give him all kinds of stuff, right? When you put that kind of responsibility on a player, firstly, it's a big attraction for a player, because I think that's what Liverpool have actually promised him. On top of that, when you add the fact that we could go potentially back to 4 at the back, that's also another big factor, because I think Van Dijk offers that kind of stability as a defender, that he's someone that actually you don't necessarily need to play 3 centre-backs.
And as Jack B's pointed out there in the chat there, you're forgetting Andreas Christensen.
No, and exactly. Andreas Christensen is somebody that I'm looking at and thinking he's definitely going to be probably the guy that will end up partnering him long term. Because if you look at it in terms of age, they are around the same sort of age. I can't actually remember off the top of my head how old each one of those players are, but they could at the very least be playing with each other for the next 5 years. That is definitely at least guaranteed. That's a big deal for us. That's a very, very big deal for us. And I think for that reason, it's something you have to seriously consider. What does then, however, worry me is that Kurt Zouma would be someone that I think then would end up having to leave, because I don't see a place for Kurt Zouma then. And that's a real shame, because I do think Kurt Zouma reminds me of Marcel Desailly. It's one of our legends, and it's a situation that I just feel quite emotional about, because I think, honestly speaking, before that injury, he was definitely going to be the guy.
You know, he was like, do you know what? He reminded me, I suppose, you know, them Velociraptors. Yeah, like where you kind of, you know, the players. Someone's gone past it, right? And he's in front of him, well in front of him, right? And he suddenly stops, and the geezer's in front of him still, and he goes, "Yeah, what, mate?" Just looking at him. Kurt Zouma. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. Which is why I threw it out right at the beginning, like Van Dijk. Do we need him? You know, but apparently we're linked with him, and it's not going away for sure. And it looks like, you know, we are going to spend some money. In terms of players coming in, and you know, I think that's probably about it. I don't think there's any others out there. I mean, I suppose there's the real long shot one.
I mean, ideally, I'd love to ask. Actually, everyone on the chat, let me ask you lot a question right now. Okay, ideally, if Chelsea could sign 5 players right now before the window ends, which 5 players would make you very happy as a Chelsea fan? Just make sure you write that down in the comments, maybe after the video if you're watching this back, or actually in the chat now. Either way, just make sure that you actually put that down, because that would be a very good thing to see, just to see the difference of opinion any Chelsea fans would have and what they would all actually think about it too.
Gareth Bale, Danny Rose.
Gareth Bale, Danny Rose.
I'd love Gareth Bale all day long, but I again, you know, I'd see him probably United, or you know, seems to have the same ideas as us, doesn't he? So everyone with, you know, but Bale's the one. Yeah, Chelsea Hub, Danny Rose, drink water. There you go.
Drink water. Oh my God, Chelsea Hub, what are you doing to me?
Chamberlain and Bale. Alexis Telles. Ox, Cancelo, and Drinkwater.
Mahrez. I did not see that one.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Mahrez.
I would hate
your old mate, Lee, mate. Lee thinks he's better than Neymar, doesn't he?
Oh my God! Don't even get me back there.
No, I'll tell you what, guys. If you haven't seen the last stream we've done, which was with all the Gooners after the Community Shield and that.
Felipe Anderson. I like this. I like this. Sergio Roberto. Okay.
And Lee Gunner was on one of the people on the panel, wasn't he? And he had this big theory about Mahrez being a better player than Neymar, didn't he?
Yeah, absolute madness. Oh, Anthony Martial. Yeah. Interesting. Harsh. Yeah. Harsh is putting that down.
Well, yeah. So Harsh is out there, is he? Where are you, mate? He's in Birmingham.
Van Dijk,
Ask mate, you
Sandro.
should be on the panel or not, mate.
Or interesting. I'm starting to see some interesting choices here by people.
Verratti.
Florenzi from yep, he's a good player. He's a good player. He's Italian as well. That always helps.
Dale from
Lazio. Wow.
Draxler.
The list basically goes on at this point. This is a good point to end on, I think, definitely.
Absolutely. And what a wonderful stream it's been tonight. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed it, actually. If you could do us a favour, though, please, guys. We're really close now to getting 3,000, which, would be great, wouldn't it,
Yeah.
Let's get us to 3,000. Let's say 81,000 people we got on Facebook. And we've really worked hard to get to that stage, haven't we? And now we're going to try and really push the channel now, really push it, get it right. And if you could, share the content as much as you can, really push the old name out there, yeah, and let them know that, there's another Chelsea channel out there, and trying to do it the right way and all that, isn't it, bud?
Yep, and we'll be revamping a few things. Definitely stay tuned. The channel will get quite a nice revamp very, very soon.
Yeah, well, the old revamp. We've got some good people coming on board as well, haven't we, buddy?
Yeah.
It's going to be part of the team and that. Gary Bonner, he wants to come on, don't we? We've got some other people as well. We're also talking to We Are the Shed. There you go, don't we, mate?
Yeah.
They do the choreography. I don't know if you've seen them, guys. They've done the 26 thing in the shed, and they also done that incredible sort of European style ultra John Terry tribute in the last game, wasn't it, last season? Fantastic, independently run they are as well, guys. They're not, which is something to be it's really admirable, that, isn't it? And like I said, I've already mentioned earlier on, I'll mention it again because it is an incredible little scoop for us to have first black player ever to play for Chelsea, Paul Canoville. He's become a real friend, he has, and he's such a lovely bloke. He really is. He's got so much time for all Chelsea fans. He obviously does a lot with the club now behind the scenes and lots of charity work and stuff like that. His foundation, for young kids and kids that would have probably ended up in crime and stuff like that. And he's just a proper bloke, you know what I mean? Like old school Chelsea sort of geezer. And he puts out some of his own videos on our Facebook group now. See him the other day. Did you see the other one the other day done? Well, he put on his old shirts, didn't he? See him? His old blue shirt, and he has his own clothing wear as well. Have you seen his polo shirts? They're beautiful. Great big Chelsea badges and that. Really, really lovely stuff, mate. And that, you know what I mean? So yeah, we really, guys, if you can help us out there, really spread the word, Chelsea SW6, and all that. And really help us try and get to 3,000 subs. That'd be the first hurdle, wouldn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And we're approaching 81,000, I'll say, on the Facebook. We want to get to 100,000 every time for a celebration. And thank you so much today, Mo, for taking part in a wonderful stream. It's been a long old one, hasn't it, mate?
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man. I look forward to whenever we do get to do this and also do more stuff with the channel. Yeah,
and we're going to be doing some quiz nights soon as well. A lot of people have been asking, when are we going to get the quiz nights on? We're going to be doing them again, haven't we?
Yep.
And we're going to be doing what we've said we'll either do it once a month or once a fortnight, where we'll get the boys in. We'll get the Arsenal boys on and the two West Ham lads as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got Tottenham boy as well. So, and he's he's old school sort of Tottenham fan. It's just good to have a bit of a chin wagon, stuff like that. And anyone out there actually that you'd like to come on the streams, I'll tell you what we really would like. We'd like some old school Chelsea, wouldn't we, mate?
We would, definitely.
We'd like some old school Chelsea. Some, I'm not being sort of ageist or whatever, but someone that's been going for a few years, and just to give it that flavour as well. That'd be really nice, wouldn't it? You know, and but also other people that want to get involved, and we would also like to have people that would like to participate in a stream whilst we're at the games. So you'd go out live. Am I right in saying this, Mo?
Yeah.
We're on at the games, so we can't go out live. Some other channels do because they don't go to games. But if we're at the games, we can't do it. So we thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we had a live stream after the games? So people that perhaps aren't at the games, but they've seen it on the TV or whatever.
Yeah.
And just go out and, you know, discuss it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically get into contact with us, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Mo. Thanks for coming on, and thank you very much to you guys out there for watching. And as I say, if you like what you've seen tonight, please give it the old thumbs up. And as I say, let us know, you know, in the comments who you'd like to see Chelsea sort of link with. And we'll see you soon. Check us out on Facebook. And check that out, to be fair, because we'll let you know when the next streams are out, obviously on Twitter as well. And flag flying high. Good night.